Hello and welcome to the 2019 ActualTech Media Cloud Solutions MegaCast event. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have some great presentations lined up for you today. I know you're going to learn a lot about cloud solutions. Today's presenters are joining us from Cohesity, Pure Storage, Nutanix, Druva, Offsite Data Sync with Veeam, NetApp, Zerto, and ArcServe. Wow, what a great lineup. Thank you, presenters, for joining us today. Now, my name is David Davis. I'm the moderator for today's event. I've been in the industry a long time, writing, blogging, speaking. I'm a 10-time VMware vExpert, and in case you can't tell in my voice, I'm passionate about all things enterprise technology. Being a former IT manager myself, I get really excited about technology solutions that can help companies to be more efficient, to save time, to save money, and to solve your technology challenges. And today's topic on cloud solutions is especially cool. And while you're learning on this event today, you have a chance to win one of our very valuable prizes, which I'll be talking about in just a moment. So the format of today's event, if you haven't joined us before, is that each of the presenters will speak for roughly 20 minutes, followed by a live 3 to 5 minute Q&A session. During that session, I'll be asking the best questions from you out there in our audience. So thank you for your questions in advance. This event is not a competition between the presenters. There's no winner being selected here today. Again, this is an educational event. Before we jump into it, we've got a little bit of housekeeping to cover. First off, prizes. We've got some really cool prizes. I'll talk about those prizes and exactly how to be eligible for the prize drawings in just a moment. Next up, questions. We'll be asking you a number of questions during the event. These poll questions are for your benefit as well as ours. We want to help to make future events as useful and relevant to you as possible. So we're very interested in your answers. And I'll be sharing the answers to most of the poll questions with you so you can see how you stack up with those out there in the audience. We also encourage you to ask questions. As I said, I'll be taking the best questions during the live Q&A sessions with each of our presenters. So use that questions and answers box as much as you'd like. We'll be trying to respond to every question as they come in, and I'll be queuing up the product-specific questions or technology questions for each of the presenters. We also want this to be a social event, so we encourage you to promote this event on Twitter. You can do that with today's hashtag, which is Cloud MegaCast. I'll be reminding you of that hashtag in just a minute. You should know I'll be monitoring the hashtag throughout the event over on Twitter. I'll be retweeting your posts and following just about anyone who posts using the hashtag. And then finally, we have a number of resources or handouts selected. You can click on the Handouts tab, which is right next to the Questions and Answers tab on your audience console. If you click on each one of those handouts, you'll download the corresponding PDF asset, or you'll be taken to the website that's been provided by today's presenter. So make sure that you check out those handouts. You should know that your audience console that you're viewing there in your web browser is kind of like a windowed operating system where you can drag, maximize, minimize, and resize all of the windows that you see there. In fact, I encourage you to make the slides window as large as possible so that when today's presenters play videos or they show architectural diagrams or do screen shares, you can see those as large as possible in your web browser. If at any point during the presentation you have trouble, simply press refresh on your browser, and 9 times out of 10 that will resolve any technical problem that comes up. If a refresh does not resolve it, in many cases you can simply try another web browser, and most of the time that will resolve it. If it doesn't, send us a question in the questions and answers area. Now, just a reminder, this is a completely live event. Things can and sometimes do go wrong on live events. So if there is a problem, I ask in advance that you please be patient with us. We have presenters calling in from around the United States and in some cases around the world. But it is my expectation that this will be a perfect event today. For today's prizes, we are giving out 5 iPhone XS smartphones in your choice of color. These are the 64 gigabyte model, so we've got 5 of those to give away, and a $500 Amazon gift card every 30 minutes during today's event. Wow, that's a lot of valuable prizes, so make sure you stay tuned throughout the event today. Now, to be eligible for today's prize drawings, you must be present on the live event. We do the drawings multiple times throughout the event. Winners have the option to make a donation to a selected charity. Grand prize winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to ActualTech Media. We will reach out to prize winners via email after the event, and the full prize terms and conditions can be found on our website as well as on the Handouts tab right there in your web browser. If you click on Handouts and scroll to the bottom, that's where you'll find the terms and conditions link. Now, through the MegaCast and EcoCast event series, thanks to generous prize winners, we have given out thousands of dollars to the selected charities that you see on the screen here. So if you win one of these prizes and you say, you know what, I just like to help someone less fortunate than me, I have plenty of technology already, I already have an iPhone, we can donate that prize value in your name to one of the selected charities. So thank you in advance if you should choose to do that. Now, I said that we want this to be a social event. Again, the hashtag is Cloud MegaCast. I'll be following that on Twitter. Today's event is produced by ActualTech Media. You can follow us on Twitter for the latest in enterprise technology, and I am David M. Davis. You can also follow me on Twitter, and I'm always glad to chat about enterprise technology and cloud computing. If you'd like to keep up to date on the latest and greatest in enterprise tech, you can follow ActualTech Media on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, as well as our 10 on Tech podcast over in the iTunes store. So make sure that you check those out. And now it's my pleasure to introduce today's keynote presenter. That is Mr. Eric Forage. He is the CTO of Root Level Technology. Eric, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, David.
So today's event topic is, cloud solutions, and a lot of that is cloud migration and running things in the private or the public cloud. And so I thought it'd be great to have you on the event today, given your many years of experience. And so the first question I wanted to ask you is, as a CTO of what I understand as a cloud consulting company, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do on a daily basis?
Yeah, my day-to-day is really interesting in the fact that I'm constantly reading and educating myself into the current trends and the current problem sets that our clients in the industry as a whole are experiencing, and really understanding what is the best way and the most efficient way to solve those problems with the longest lasting impact. So trying to avoid the shiny new object and really kind of find the next Kubernetes solution or the next VMware solution that's going to stick and hold an organization through their cloud journey and their appetite to modernize their application.
Yeah, so a lot of companies, cloud is all the rage, it's in the news, but they need to find the right solution that's best for their business. So I'm curious, when you talk to companies about migration to the cloud, what are their reasons? What are their justifications?
A lot of their justifications are pretty interesting. Some are going to really look at the bottom line of I don't want to renew my $500,000 SAN refresh that has to happen this year. Everyone looks at that CapEx spend and is I don't want to do that again. So you have one bucket of those customers, and then you have the other bucket of customers of I want to be able to rapidly change my application and rapidly innovate through my business need. And that's where a lot of the cloud really kind of helps companies address some of those avenues and issues.
Okay. So a lot of different reasons, different businesses have different reasons, it sounds like. I'm curious, once they make the jump to the cloud, do you see it in general being a success, or do you talk to a lot of companies who have failed to make that jump to the cloud?
It's a mixed bag. It really depends on how mature they are in their project planning as well as their development maturity. So the way to be successful in your cloud journey is really kind of looking at everything in the cloud as a product. So treat it the same way that you would with your line of business application. So you're always touching it, you're always optimizing it, you're not letting it set stale, you're always optimizing it for, let's say, Amazon reduce pricing for their newest generation of instances. And if you're running 2 gens later, you're effectively leaving money on the table. So making those optimization choices on a periodic schedule, that's how you become successful in the cloud. The people that are unsuccessful look at the cloud as this silver bullet of okay, it's in the cloud, but I made the same decisions I made in the data center and I expect them to go away. Those are the people that are going to have a struggle inside the public cloud space.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So the cloud isn't just a magic box you can put all your apps in and everything just works. You're saying there's still a lot of work to be done. Maybe you don't have to upgrade your servers and refresh the hardware for the servers and the storage, but there's still a lot of optimization to be done around cost management, efficiency, performance, things like that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's a constant knob that you always have to be turning. Obviously, you don't have to turn it every day or every month, but if you don't keep an eye on it, you're leaving yourself in a position where you're potentially overcommitted on usage, or you're leaving money on the table, or you're just simply leaving orphaned assets sit there and cost you money.
Yeah, that's a great point. In fact, I got a bill from Microsoft Azure for last month for a high performance SSD, 1 terabyte drive I had just forgotten about for 90 something dollars. So that was a big mistake on my part. So I can see where in the enterprise, that $90 bill could be, $9,000 or $90,000 for a forgotten asset. So what about when it comes to applications being migrated to the cloud? I mean, are there certain applications that shouldn't be migrated in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely going to run into the situations where you're going to have these applications that you have a heavy disk utilization, where there's a lot of high-end I/O requirements around, and those are applications that can become very costly to run inside like a public cloud setting. And then there's applications that, from a legacy point of view, that you have a well understanding constraint as to what it does and how it's going to work, and there's no business requirement to really move it forward or refactor it, or it's already in a sunsetting.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's not the perfect solution for every single application out there. You really need to look at it on an app by app basis. Well, Eric, this has been really great. I think that's all the time we have in our interview today. If people want to get in touch with you and ask questions about cloud migrations or what you do at Root Level Technology, what should they do?
Yeah, the best way to get a hold of us and engage with us is simply sending an email to sales@rootleveltech.com and just describe kind of what you're after, what you're looking for, and then one of our sales engineers will get back with you in pretty quick order and kind of schedule some time to kind of talk through what your needs are and what your goals are.
Well, it's been really great having you on the event today. Thanks so much, Eric.
Thank you.
All right, great interview there with Eric. Before we jump into it with our first presenter on today's event, I've got a couple quick poll questions for you. The first poll question is on the screen. Should be a pretty easy question to answer. It says, how many people work at your company? So you just select the answer there in the slides window. Don't put it in the questions box, please. Use the slides window, and I'll share the results of the poll with you here in just a moment. You can see how you stack up with your peers who are on today's Cloud MegaCast. All right, looks like most everyone there has voted. Let me share the results of this with you. So 19% on the event today are at companies who have 10,000 plus employees, so some very large companies. The largest group here was 26% who had between 100 and 500 employees, all the way down to small shops who had between 1 and 25 employees, that's 11%, and then 10% are 500 to 1,000 employees. So real good representation of different sizes of companies being represented on today's cloud event. One more poll question before I introduce our first presenter. This question is, what is your industry vertical? And you may need to scroll down on the slides window there on the side of it to see all the different verticals. Or you may actually just make your slides window larger. You can click the maximize button on that window and have it take up your full browser window that you have sized right now. So I'll share the results of this poll with you in just a moment as well. All right, looks like most everyone has voted. Let me share these results with you. And take a look at that. 26% are at technology companies of some kind, probably not a big surprise, but 10% are from manufacturing companies, 11% healthcare, 10% finance and banking. If you add up all the K-12 education, government, state, federal, and higher education, that's a large percentage there. In fact, 17% on the event today, 2% law, 4% energy, 4% nonprofit, a real good representation of all different types of verticals being represented on today's event. So thank you everyone who voted in that poll. We'll have a number of other polls throughout the event. And with that, I'm excited to introduce our first presenter on today's Cloud MegaCast. That is Samir Nouri, who is a Director of Cloud Solutions Marketing at Cohesity. Samir, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you, David.
Thanks for being on. Take it away.
Yeah, so, thanks for the opportunity to present on this MegaCast. We had a last-minute change out. My colleague, Teresa Miller, who is, principal technologist, fell sick, and so I'm, filling in for her. I've done, a couple of these MegaCasts before, so hopefully it's not that much of a shift. So our topic here today is really, talking about your hybrid cloud strategy for secondary data and applications, and how could you, leverage, the Cohesity portfolio of solutions to enable that and drive, that set of functionality and capability you're looking for when it comes to hybrid cloud for use cases like backup, archival, application/data mobility, disaster recovery, and those types of solutions. If you want to do next, David. So, do a really quick, intro into Cohesity for those of you not familiar. We're about getting close to a 6-year-old company, started by our CEO Mohit Aaron, who was the co-founder of Nutanix and a lead on the Google file system. So tons of, experience in distributed systems, scale out and storage. On the business side, we have a very experienced, executive in Rob Salmon, who was the former president of NetApp, and a very experienced team all around. And really the mission of Cohesity is to really help redefine secondary data and applications. We're, growing very fast as a company, and we're funded by some top-tier investors who we see listed there. Just in terms of give you a sense for, if you're looking and sort of thinking about it, I might have heard of you guys. Who else, is using your product? What you see is some very strong adoption of the platform across a number of different verticals, pretty much every vertical, and including public sector. And, if I think about, the reasons customers, sort of come up with and saying why they selected Cohesity, it comes down to, I think, really sort of three things. Simplicity of how they can deploy the product and, take their sort of, existing secondary data and apps like backup, et cetera, into the next generation. Simplicity is a big deal. The vision that Cohesity has in terms of not just backup, but powering, more things than that, enabling you as customers to do a lot more with your backup data. And really, scale, right? I think those are really sort of three fundamental things and reasons and differentiators from a Cohesity viewpoint, and why so many customers are adopting the platform. So, cloud, is obviously top of mind. Public cloud adoption has, in the last few years, gone through the roof and really growing exponentially, continues to grow, right? You only need to look at sort of AWS's growth numbers and see that. I think what we found, in talking with customers and also in talking with somebody like Gartner, is that cloud is top of mind when it comes to use cases like backup. Cloud backup is becoming more and more important, and customers are looking at that. What's also actually a key here is that I think a lot of you, from a customer viewpoint, have multiple solutions that you're using for either archival, you're using something for cloud backup, potentially using something for cloud DR. And in order to drive the move to cloud and effective hybrid cloud strategy, and help you transform your data center, actually being able to have one platform for bringing those workloads under one umbrella is actually key. And that actually resonates extremely well with our value proposition and what we're able to bring to the table, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So like I said, cloud is top of mind, but it's not as seamless as one might think it might be, right? And I think we see three key challenges coming to bear when it comes to cloud and how to think about it when it comes to these use cases. So in some ways, the public cloud is actually creating a new set of silos from a secondary data perspective. and that's creating a whole set of other issues, right? So that's sort of one challenge we see emerging, where what happened on premises is potentially starting to reoccur in the cloud, where you've got across multiple clouds, or even with one cloud you're using different services, and potentially there's some silos there. The other two things we see is a lack of visibility and control across what you have in your data center and what you have in the public cloud, or in your private cloud, right? And we see sort of this lack of business units have gone up and spun up multiple different cloud services for different purposes, so on and so forth. And then when it comes back to sort of central IT, there's this question of, well, I don't sometimes even know actually what my business units have spun up, what cloud services are being used, et cetera, et cetera. So that's sort of another problem there. And the third is really around application mobility, and really having the seamless way to go take applications and part of a stack that's on premises. You want to take part of that and move it to the cloud, but you also want to have flexibility to move it back, right? So how do you sort of think about that and construct an architecture that can enable you to do that? So from our viewpoint, our journey that we enable customers to start with, really from a cloud perspective, starts with long-term retention. So as you see in the picture, to the left, customers start with us by backing up their applications. It could be databases, could be virtual machines, could be physical servers. They back it up onto Cohesity, and once it's backed up onto Cohesity, we're able to then help, very seamlessly take this data and archive it to the public cloud for long-term retention. So we're chiefly eliminating and helping customers reduce reliance on tape, right? And we see that pattern over and over, right? There's still sort of lots of low-hanging fruit in terms of helping customers just do that. Secondly, because of the way we've architected our solution around this, we also help enable global deduplication, compression, in the cloud. So we're actually able to help in some ways actually optimize the cost of the cloud storage you actually need compared to other solutions, right? And the third piece then is, because of our global indexing and search capabilities, we are able to actually help make it easier to retrieve and find this data once it's in the cloud, right? So some very tangible benefits with starting with long-term retention and what customers experience with this solution. So if you play this forward, what we then see occurring is, well, you started off with this long-term retention, that's great, but what about sort of data and application mobility? What is, and David, I think we have a few builds here, and I really apologize for Ken being able to figure out the move your next slide. We see, when it comes to sort of leveraging on-premises backup data for test dev, we see customers typically struggling with two things. One is the infrastructure, if they're using it from a legacy solution, is not readily usable for test dev because it just wasn't architected. So the solution is, customers spinning up multiple copies of data in order to provision these data sets to their application teams, test dev teams, and that's time-consuming, that's expensive. And when it comes to cloud, the question then is, well, this is a different format, right? What you use on premises. And then, if you want to move it back as well, right? So we see those as being some fundamental challenges there. If you move it forward, David. And then, as more and more of you are adopting the cloud for applications that are being born in the cloud, you've got your entire stack that's leveraging both the sort of infrastructure as a service layer in the cloud, as well as the other services that are available. The question then is, what about backup, right? How do you think about constructing and architecting a solution for backup that potentially you can use on premises, as well as in the cloud, and not have differing point solutions? So we see customers probably doing this today with a mix of custom scripts, which leads to the whole process of managing snapshots not very easy. Also, the recovery process is not that seamless. So we see sort of, as more and more things are obviously being developed in the cloud, we see some challenges here when it comes to backup. And then, the last piece then is, I almost call this, as disaster, as sort of data centers continue to be consolidated, and that footprint moves to the public cloud, disaster recovery is almost a natural fit for the public cloud. I almost call it sort of, public cloud being a natural destination for DR, which can take the place of a full-fledged, secondary site. And we see sort of in our customer base, customers, as I said, starting with us with backup and long-term retention, but then building on that as the foundation to actually enable a disaster recovery strategy, which from our perspective, we can sort of enable both the failover and failback pieces, right? So that's kind of the sort of key themes we see within our customer base and how we see the adoption sort of occurring. So the last piece is then, I think, which is a little bit more, I think, forward-looking, which is probably not there yet, but, I think we will start to see this, occur in the next sort of 12, 18 months is, most of you are probably sort of in the hybrid cloud mode today. Some of you are probably adopting multiple clouds for, different workloads. So you're going to go to AWS for a certain workload, a set of applications, and you're going to use Azure for something else, and you're optimizing on those. So the question then is, if you had to sort of think about how do you want to orchestrate and in some ways also reduce your reliance on one public cloud and avoid quote-unquote lock-in, you want to have some level of portability across those different public clouds in these use cases. And so, we see sort of multi-cloud adoption bringing a different set of challenges that we're looking to solve for going forward in terms of data management, data orchestration, and sort of taking that data mobility concept from on-prem to the public cloud, but applying it to sort of, cloud to cloud, right? So we see that as sort of the last, leg of this stool, if you will, in terms of how, this story, plays out. So from our perspective, our platform, today is already being leveraged by over 50% of our customers taking advantage of these rich set of capabilities we provide. It's a fully software-defined platform. It runs directly in the cloud, as you can see. So our Cloud Edition is the full-fledged version of our, platform that runs on premises. Really sort of being able to span, across both your on-center environment as well as your, public cloud environment, and really enabling a comprehensive set of use cases. So like I talked about, the set of use cases that are enabled is archival, it's tiering, it's replication from on-prem to the cloud native backup, and enabling use of native snapshots and being able to integrate with those APIs. And then, disaster recovery, and we've got a few different ways in which we can help customers achieve disaster recovery depending on your SLA and obviously your cost as well, right? It's a pretty comprehensive set of capabilities we bring to the table when it comes to, the public cloud. Like I talked about, right? I think this is just another pictorial view to give you a sense that, we can really sort of leverage our native integration to help you extend what you're doing on-prem to the public cloud, but then also move more into the public cloud. So like I talked about, just jumping a little bit into some of the use cases and the different solutions, really long-term retention is where customers start with us. Our capabilities in this area are sort of, something called Cloud Archive that integrates, with the cloud services like AWS, like Amazon S3, Glacier, Azure Blob Storage, Google Cloud Storage. Very natively plugs into that, helps you sort of, leverage the policy-based framework we have, in our platform for backing up data and be able to set policies to move data to the cloud for long-term archival. Storage tiering is another use case where customers are leveraging us and our capability called Cloud Tier and building upon what they already have to move more, colder data and infrequently accessed data to, public cloud. And the third bucket then is sort of, in sort of test dev and DR where our platform can run in the cloud, we can replicate to and from the cloud, and we can also then sort of support, a multitude of, test dev and DR capabilities, in that solution. Like I talked about, depending on your SLA and your cost considerations, we've got, few different ways in which we can help you, think about disaster recovery and what might be best, applicable for you. So in the first instance, which we see as sort of really in from a time SLA perspective, more falling in the sort of sometimes days, but more like hours, is sort of cloud retrieve that helps you retrieve data or recover data to a net new Cohesity cluster once it's been archived to the cloud, right? And so this is very useful in the situation of being able to recover data from a DR in case of a DR scenario. When it comes to Cloud Edition with sort of, with our cloud replication capability, this is really bringing more the SLA in terms of, minutes, in terms of what you can expect out of it. And this is really where Cohesity is run in the cloud, and you're able to replicate data from on-premises and be able to sort of enable that sort of solution there. And Cloud Spin is a capability that helps you convert on-premises VMs to the appropriate cloud format, and you don't need the entire platform actually running in the cloud. So we can actually help with converting the on-premises VMs to the appropriate cloud format. So an interesting use case here is a customer of ours who, it's the Annenberg School of Communications from University of Pennsylvania, where they had a planned outage as part of their, DR strategy, and they were they had some issues with their prior solution and the way they were, being able to not fast bring up their 20 to 40 different websites, both internal and external, fast enough. So they're leveraging our Cloud Spin capability to take their VMs to the cloud, shut down their on-premises, as part of their planned outage. Once these VMs are in the cloud, with Cloud Spin, it's sort of there. They continue sort of working on it, but then they're able to sort of bring this back, on-premises once the planned outage is done. So what they've been able to do is automate a lot of the steps, that they were doing before, and be able to much more quickly bring up the web infrastructure, the infrastructure for these websites, compared to what they were able to do before. It's a pretty interesting, sort of application of the technology. I talked a little bit about sort of our application test and development and how we really sort of can help, power that. And so the concept here is, like I talked about with sort of Cloud Spin, is really being able to convert the on-premises VM to appropriate cloud format. You now have, access to these VMs for sort of on-demand, test dev or, provisioning that you need to use. With our sort of, cloud native backup, combined with this capability, really sort of makes a powerful solution to not only sort of drive the test dev process, but at the same time have, cloud native backup capabilities as, intrinsic part of that, where you're now able to sort of take a full-fledged application development and testing cycle in the cloud, back it up, and then bring it back, on-premises, as needed. So we think that this is pretty powerful, and we have some customers who are leveraging both in conjunction. And then, the solution from a DR perspective really is then about sort of, policy-based replication, enabling sort of both failover and, failback, and sort of, being able to do that format conversion like I talked about. So this is, again, built on top of, this enabling technology called Cloud Spin that we introduced to market, last summer. So just to give you an idea of, some of our customers who are leveraging our cloud capabilities and integration capabilities, Schneider Electric is a great one that comes to mind, where as part of their refresh of their backup and recovery solution, they really wanted a next-gen solution, but really with cloud as a central point of that. And so they're able to leverage our solution to integrate with their existing, Microsoft Azure environment. And, as you can see, some of the benefits in terms of what they were able to achieve, really improving their frequency of their snapshots and recovery times, and then, being able to bring some significant cost savings to bear, in the process as well, and really sort of, helping reduce their reliance on tape. Like I said, talked in the beginning, this is a very consistent theme we see with our customers, that they actually want to reduce their spend on tape, leverage the public cloud, but then also then look at other use cases. And then Manhattan Associates is an example of, one who's using the AWS cloud, with us. Again, similar story in terms of lowering their cost, wanting a single solution to combine backup software, their scale out, their target storage, and then have cloud as a key sort of central point of that to enable integration for long-term retention. So in summary, if you think about it, the different solutions I talked about really come down to your cloud initiative. You might be at a different, each of you might be at a different point in your journey and evolution. You can really think of starting your cloud initiative anywhere with Cohesity. It can be with long-term retention, like I talked about, where lots of our customers start. But if you've got applications that are sort of completely in the cloud and you're looking for, a modern cloud backup solution, for that, we can definitely sort of enable that. If you're looking for sort of test dev and enabling this data and application mobility, we've definitely got a solution there. When it comes to DR and leveraging, enabling you to leverage the public cloud more for a full-blown, DR solution can definitely, help you there. Really, I think my key message is think about, Cohesity as really a platform that can help you accommodate a range of use cases across your secondary workloads, and really enabling you to sort of put public cloud as a central point of that, and be able to sort of leapfrog your journey, with that from that viewpoint. Yeah, and like I talked about, really powering your hybrid cloud strategy for these use cases. So I think that pretty much brings me to the end of my presentation here. So let me pause, David, and thank you very much for advancing the slides. Again, I apologize for having a technical glitch there. So I'll turn it over back to you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for the great presentation. So we do have some questions here for you. Let's see. First one, they're asking about, does Cohesity support versioning of files?
Is there any more detail behind that question?
No, I'm guessing they're talking about multiple, as you back up a file over time, you have multiple versions of that file, I would guess, but
yeah,
if not, we can get back to them.
Yeah, I think the way I would answer that is, we have a unique technology that's part of our platform called Snaptree that really helps you manage the deltas in terms of the changes. And so, my answer would be yes, we can absolutely help with that. And I'd encourage you to go on our website and read more about our Snaptree technology that's, unique when it comes to, how we sort of, manage the entire, process there.
Okay. Another question here, they're asking if I want to restore from the cloud back to on-prem, is this something I can do myself? How does that work?
Restore from the cloud back to on-prem. So I think the way we would sort of accommodate that would be, like I mentioned, the use case where University of Pennsylvania takes their VMs to the cloud and then brings them back. I think that would be sort of fitting in that bucket of how we would help sort of accommodate that. I think on the DR side, I think there is, obviously capabilities we have on the failover and failback. So my answer would be yes. I think it's going to really sort of depend, and we'll have to dig into a little bit more specifics of the exact use case and the the nuances around it.
Okay. And for the audience out there, I popped up a poll question on the screen. It says, would you like to be one of the first to learn more about the Cohesity solution? Just answer that right there in the slides area. And then let's see, Samir, there's a number of questions here that are kind of, if I tried to sum them up, it would be, why would I use, say, Cohesity in the cloud versus just putting my data in like Amazon S3 or Azure?
Yeah, so I think the public cloud services obviously have their merits, right? And I think we obviously partner and integrate with a variety of different Amazon services, and so I think the answer would be that with Cohesity you're going to get a whole lot more than if you're going to rely on let's say the capabilities within AWS, for instance, that are enabling things like backup, right? So there's a reason AWS partners with folks like us to really bring to bear a broader set of capabilities and solutions that are more enterprise grade in nature, for a particular workload or use case, then can be solved for within any one of those services, right? I think that's the way I'd be sort of thinking about it, and really sort of encouraging people to look at their do the due diligence when looking at it. It's not exactly always sort of apples to apples.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I think that's all the time we have for live questions. I did put a number of questions that are more technical here for you in the queue, actually under Teresa's name, if you want to check those out and maybe respond to those folks out there. But thank you for jumping on the event today, Samir. Really great presentation.
No, thank you, David. I appreciate it.
For more information on Cohesity, visit cohesity.com. Also check out the handout that Cohesity has right there in your audience console. It's entitled Bringing Enterprise-Grade Capabilities to the Public Cloud for Secondary Storage. So make sure you check that out. And now it's time to award our first Amazon $500 gift card. That gift card is going out to Gijo George from Pennsylvania. Congratulations, Gijo George from Pennsylvania. We got a lot more gift cards and a bunch of iPhones to give away on the event, so make sure you stay tuned for those. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our next presenter. That is Mr. Colin Gallagher. He is the Director of Product Marketing at Pure Storage. Colin, are you with us?
I am, David. Good day.
Thanks for being on. Take it away.
Cool. Let me make sure I got the controls here. Oh, I can click the buttons. Okay, score one for this morning. I'm Colin Gallagher. I'm here to talk a little bit about Pure Cloud Data Services, but also more strategically about how we see and what we're hearing from our customers about the cloud evolving, and approaches that we can jointly work with you together to solve. If you look back in history, about 15 years ago, Amazon really started the public cloud era with the launch of AWS. And like any technology, it's gone through a sort of hype cycle with its, obviously its fanboys and its naysayers. 15 years ago, everything was going to move to the cloud. Nothing was going to be on-prem. Data sets were going to close. Then people started dealing with implementation challenges, and it was like the cloud is just, a pipe dream. We're going to, have native born the cloud applications going up, being hosted there. And we've really settled, 15 years later into a much more, nuanced position where there are applications that run on the cloud today. There are applications that run on-prem. Most IT environments, no matter what survey you look at, say they're running, I think, the average of four different clouds. So, we are truly living in a multi-cloud world. The public cloud is here to stay. The hybrid cloud is here to stay. But what I'm really hearing from the CIOs I talk to, what others at Pure are hearing from, is that it's not about infrastructure anymore. Before it used to be a conversation about, does this application run on-premise infrastructure, or does this run, on cloud infrastructure? What the conversation is changing to today is really about hybrid applications. Building hybrid applications that run across multiple different types of infrastructures so they can leverage innovation from each of them as needed. And it's always great when you can eat your own dog food or drink your own champagne, as I like to say. That's slightly better turn to that phrase. We have an application, Pure One, that's our system management and cloud management application for all of our array infrastructure deployed on customer premises. And this is a prime example of a multi-cloud application. Obviously, we were a startup, an early-stage startup, and we decided to build this application in the cloud. So we built it on SaaS providers. Then as we started to scale and grow, we realized that were portions of it that, for performance and analytics that didn't work well in the cloud. So we brought those portions on-prem. We wanted to integrate it with some of our Salesforce applications to better integrate with our customer data, so we've done that. So our Pure One application is a composite application divided into multiple services that run both on Amazon AWS, they run on Salesforce.com, and they run on our own prem infrastructure, taking and feeding data from over 10,000 devices a day, processing them, providing analytics, AI, trending analysis, what-if scenarios, et cetera, for our real-time customers. So this is a prime example of where we see applications going today, a hybrid application taking advantage of multiple different clouds. But if you look, it's not just kind of, on-prem applications that are being hybridized. You look at what's happening with SaaS providers and public cloud vendors. They're also now offering on-prem or hybrid solutions. So the arrow is going the other way as well. So we really are kind of merging, living in this merged world where you've got multiple different applications being driven by a variety of different influences in the market. However, there are challenges with that, obviously. So again, as you go and build your applications forward, what we're really trying to do is help you build application in a world of and not or. So as you want to go and take advantage of one cloud and another cloud and another cloud, there's some things you need to do to support that application so it can be moved, so it can be componentized, so it can be built into services or microservices to really leverage the benefits of on-prem and the cloud. But that and conversation is actually hard, right? The enterprise is not very cloudy and the cloud is not very enterprisey, right? So it's actually very hard to take something that was built on-prem and port it to the cloud, and it's very hard to take something that was built for the cloud and port it on-prem, right? More on that, right? The way in which you deploy applications on-prem is very different than in the cloud, right? On-prem, you have package apps on VMs, generally deployed in application silos or maybe on dedicated infrastructure, whereas in the public cloud, you've got web-scale apps built on containers or bare metal, taking advantage of a variety of different services that may run across different infrastructure types. There's obviously different consumption and management experience as well. On-prem, you're dealing with dedicated hardware, often bought in CapEx and depreciated over 4 or 5, up to 8 years. And while there is a ton of automation to help on-prem management, it historically has its roots in manual management. So you're kind of automating around manual management. Whereas in the cloud, everything is on demand, consumed via CapEx. You pay for what you use. If you don't use it, you don't incur that bill. And everything is managed through APIs. So a series of APIs that allow you to programmatically interact with your infrastructure as opposed to just kind of automating, a series of manual clicks or manual CLIs in the worst case scenario. And where we really think we can help is in the data storage layer, right? The storage approaches are very different between the cloud and on-premise. We've grown up over the last, 30 years or more of having dedicated storage arrays that provide incredible resiliency native into the storage array platform itself, delivering a rich set of features, a rich set of data efficiency features that have kind of emerged over the last 10 years, performance management capabilities, et cetera, which is very different from how data is provided in the public cloud, which is simple and scalable, easy to deploy, easy to consume. However, built around a pool of shared services, not leveraging a lot of data efficiency technology, not leveraging a lot of copy efficiency technology. So really driving up the cost and how you store data. If you store 5 copies of data, you end up paying for it in 5 different times. But what we posit to you today is what if you could bring these two together. You could provide seamless orchestration for your apps across your on-prem and hosted and public cloud. What if you could provide bidirectional app mobility, be able to take an application that was designed for on-prem and easily move to the cloud, or vice versa? And what if you could provide a common set of shared rich data services for both of these application types? And that's the crux of the conversation today is really how do you do that? How do you provide that common data architecture? Because data really makes or breaks hybrid, right? Unlike, there are tools already on that previous slide to help you move apps like Kubernetes that can help you manage and deploy apps more seamlessly. There aren't a lot of tools to help you move data from, on-premise to the cloud. And data has gravity. We're talking about large data sets, much larger than the code base of any application generally. And so being able to do that migration, being able to do that mobility and portability really requires a different approach to think about it. So you have to think about application compatibility. You have to think about API consistency both across on-prem and the cloud. You have to think about how you're going to migrate and how, what time frame you're going to migrate in and how do you provide data consistency across that migration window. And obviously, you want to be able to provide innovation velocity because we're living in a developer-centric world today. And the faster we can develop and get new services to market, the faster we can drive additional revenue and get the rest of the business off our backs. So at Pure, we have a data-centric architecture that we believe is the foundation for a true unified hybrid cloud, providing services both on-prem and hosted environments, as well as the public cloud, really driving fast shared data in both locations, on-demand and automated provisioning, management, and reporting, API first, whether you're on-prem or in the public cloud, providing globally secure, reliable, high availability across both deployment models, and being able to provide the ability to replicate from one to the other. So you can have your primary workloads running on-prem, but do DR in the cloud, or you can do DR between two different clouds, or two different cloud instances. Hybrid by design, obviously, in order to make all this work, you have to take hybrid into account. You can't just take something that was designed for and optimized for on-premise and sort of stretch it and refactor it to the cloud, nor can you do the same thing in the public cloud. You really have to take in these very different needs and build something that works as the best citizen in either world. And lastly, deliver something that's constantly improving and constantly on. So making sure that you're running your mission-critical workloads in the cloud. You need architecture that's been tried and true and proven for running mission-critical wherever it happens to be. So our tagline is that Pure unifies cloud. We allow you to do it in three different ways: by building your cloud on-prem, by allowing you to run anywhere, so deploying hybrid, and allowing you to protect everywhere. And let me double-click into each one of these relatively quickly and give you a quick little overview of our capabilities in each of these that we're using to solve that higher-level problem of building a unified hybrid cloud. What do we mean by talking about building your cloud? Really delivering storage as a service for your enterprise and web scale applications, allowing you to build your private cloud, your hybrid cloud in your own environment, in a hosted environment, and deliver storage as a service to your customers today. Even if you aren't going to run hybrid and you're one of the very small percentages of the market who's not going to, you still need to compete with cloud providers today. Cloud providers have set a level and expectation of service in the market that we all need to respond to. I have a CIO friend who describes his strategy as being the service provider of choice, because he knows that his customers, if they don't like the service level that he's delivering, if they find he's too old-fashioned, cranky, if he's still taking 3 weeks to provision storage and asking for multiple tickets to do so, they're just going to whip out their credit card, go to Amazon, and spin up some services and be up and running in a matter of hours. So that's kind of the benchmark that he's competing with, and that's the benchmark that we're helping decide to build your infrastructure on top of Pure on-premise. Today, Pure has helped thousands of customers deploy cloud on-premise, helping them build and automate container or VM-based clouds, really delivering storage as a service with a wide range of APIs for both block and object storage, really allowing you to get to web scale for on-premise storage as well with our Pure Storage FlashBlade, which delivers massively parallel object storage, and allowing you to consume on demand. I mean, one of the key things about acting like a service provider is being able to bill and charge like a service provider. And we uniquely deliver the capability to have you buy storage as a service, no CapEx required. It's a true OpEx model. You pay for what you use and only what you use, and to deliver the level of SLA that's agreed to, and much like you would if you were going to a public cloud provider. So that's our on-prem offerings for helping you build your cloud on-prem. But let's talk more. We've been delivering that for 7+ years. We excel at that. That's not necessarily news. So let's talk about running everywhere. And really what this is allowing you the freedom to not just build your cloud on-prem, but if and when you're ready to move it, portions of your application to cloud or entire applications to cloud, to really allow you to make it easy, make it more powerful, more agile, and deliver better value than you can get with public cloud alone. So this is our Pure Cloud Data Services, which we announced at the end of last year. It's a full set of cloud data services, really helping you build a true unified cloud that's seamlessly portable and interoperable with our on-prem capabilities that I just went through. And we provide them around block storage, around object storage, and around data protection to the cloud as well. Let me talk about our block storage offerings first. Block storage has been the foundation of mission-critical apps on-premise for decades. And we see customers who are looking to move to the cloud, looking to leverage their investment and capabilities and skills in Block, and being able to port those to the cloud, without having to completely redo their applications. So we announced Cloud Block Store for Amazon Web Services. This is industrial strength cloud block storage that's been optimized and made for public cloud storage, particularly Amazon Web Service in this case. It is a virtual instance of our on-prem operating system that runs in the cloud, delivering all the same capabilities, data services, deduplication, replication, other data protection capabilities that you would get if you were running our storage array on-prem. It looks like a virtual array in the cloud, so that allows us to do what I described before, that DR to the cloud capability, where you spin up a primary array on-prem, you replicate to the virtual instance in the cloud, and then when you need to fail over, you can fail over that as well. Even better, they're both managed with our Pure One Cloud Data Management, allowing you to have one consistent management reporting interface for on-prem and the cloud as well, or even your hosted environments running, Pure Storage arrays in a hosted environment as well. I'm not going to tick through the laundry list of these great things, but it's 100% software. It's a virtual instance, so you can deploy it in the cloud in a cloud-friendly model. Delivers a consistent set of APIs. Again, we use the same APIs we use on-prem as we use in the cloud. So this allows you to have consistency both on-prem as well as in the cloud. The other thing that we do is we've integrated with CloudFormation templates the way in which you provision and deploy storage in the cloud, so you can take advantage of all the learning you've done about deploying block storage in the cloud already, and do that simply with us and take advantage of the Pure capabilities. One of the ways in which we deliver additional value on top of just native naked cloud storage is we provide a tremendous amount of efficiency. We have duplication, compression, and thin provisioning on-prem. Really help big customers get the best value for the storage they're paying for, not paying for multiple copies of the same data, not forcing them to pay for multiple, really reducing the cost footprint of the storage, but still delivering a rich storage experience. We've ported all those capabilities to the cloud as well, so really working to shrink the cost of your cloud storage footprint. So if you're making additional copies in the cloud for test dev, we can apply our thin provisioning, our space efficient copies, our deduping and compression to that to really maximize the ROI for your cloud investment. And lastly, we have a reputation around fast, reliable, and secure storage, delivering mission critical performance, reliability, 5, 6 nines availability. We've taken that and extended that to the cloud, providing multi-availability zone HA, non-disruptive upgrades in the cloud, instant snaps, and data at rest encryption, all on top of your Amazon Web Service block storage today. So we're very proud to announce this. We are in public beta with this right now. If you're interested in joining the public beta, please come and talk to me afterwards, and we're happy to sign you up for it. We're starting to see a bunch of interesting use cases that customers are deploying with this. We will make this public a little bit later in the year. Just again, I mentioned that it allows you to migrate to and from the cloud. So not just having DR in the cloud, but again, you can stand up a virtual instance in the cloud, replicate from on-prem to the cloud. Once you verify that everything is up and running like you would like to see it in the cloud, you can quiesce the array on-prem and fully migrate to the cloud, or do the DR scenario like I described before. Here we go. Yep. And as I said before, we support multiple availability zones, so you can use our active clustering technology, one of the simplest and easiest active storage solutions on the market today. You can use it now between public clouds, between two Amazon instances, to have high availability in case you want to protect against an availability zone going down. That can build this out in this time. And lastly, let me talk a little bit about data protection. A lot of our customers are telling us that they have a cloud strategy with leads in which they lead with data protection. The first thing they want to do is move data protection to the cloud. They see that as a cost-effective use of the cloud. They may be concerned about performance in the cloud, which we don't think they'll have, but it's a kind of common approach to doing it. So a lot of our customers are looking to dip their toe in the water by doing DR in the cloud first. And we have a set of capabilities that we've announced and are now shipping one of them, and we'll be shipping the other one very shortly to help you do better DR to the cloud. The key around this model is that, data protection on-prem has really been driven around a disk-to-disk to tape model for the last 15 plus years or so, right? You had your primary copy that was on a disk. And again, about 10, 15 years ago, disk-based backup appliances came into vogue. You were making another copy of your primary data onto a disk-based backup appliance. And then you had to protect that disk-based backup appliance in case it failed, so you were likely replicating it to another disk-based backup appliance off-site. And then finally, for long-term archive, you were moving it off to tape, putting it on a truck, and shipping it to a storage facility like Iron Mountain or someplace else. The challenge with this disk-to-disk to tape approach was really, while it provided great backup capabilities, you were pulling data off of the production systems very quickly, allowing you to meet your backup windows. It was actually, when you needed to recover, restore speeds were slow. Most purpose-built backup appliances restore data 10 times slower than they back it up. So if you're just making your backup windows, multiply that by 10 times when you actually want to do a restore. They're not great at parallel operations. And they're really not designed for performance when you need it most, when your data is unavailable. The other thing that the challenge with them is that they see, as you can see on this slide, multiple backup silos. You have your primary backup appliance farm, you have your secondary backup appliance farm, and largely within these, when you ran out of space within one PBBA, you have to deploy another one. And so you had some workloads on one, some workloads on the other. You weren't getting the benefits of dedupe and compression across both of them, so you were losing some economics there. But at the same time, you had multiple things to manage. I've talked to customers who were trying to manage, and optimize placement of workloads in each one of these, and it just ends up becoming a nightmare. It becomes like, as I described, the guy in the circus spinning the plates on stage. The more and more plates you add, the more likely the plate's going to fall down and break. And it's very expensive single-use infrastructure, right? You're standing up another, array, so to speak, just to maintain your backups, and then replicating another array just to protect those backups. And so it ends up becoming a pretty complex and pretty expensive solution. And it doesn't solve the problems inherent with tape, which was the original intent of purpose-built backup appliances, which is that tapes are fragile. They're harder to manage than hardware. You need to get them in the correct order, and you need to make sure you have all the tapes when you need to do a restore. They're highly serial, and this data, which may represent years and years of your business data, is sitting off-site, either providing a security risk or providing no additional business value, not allowing you to access it easily and mine it when you need it. And what we see the world moving to is a flash to cloud model, in which your primary data sits on flash today. You back up for fast recovery to a near flash data store. This leverages the power of flash to both do rapid backups, but also rapid recovery back and restore back into your primary systems as needed. And then for long-term retention, you use cost-effective cloud object storage, which is inherently more reliable and available than tapes. It allows you to leverage that data for test and dev if you want to see fit. It allows you to run analytics on it, and a variety of things. So it makes that what would have been cold data sitting on a tape or on a replicated backup appliance someplace warm or even hot as needed. So to solve this challenge, we're doing two different things. We have a product called CloudSnap, which we announced at the end of last year and just started shipping last week. So thank you. You're from the first week of the year that we've been shipping it since last Friday with our 5.2 software for Purity. This is the ability to do snaps to the public cloud. We've had a portable snapshot technology for several years where you can take a snap off of our flash arrays and move them to a flash blade or NFS data store or other capabilities. We've now extended that portable snap to snaps directly to Amazon Web Services, to an AWS S3 bucket. So you can store these replicas off-prem. You can replicate them obviously in between things as well, in between Amazon instances as well, sorry. But the secret sauce behind this is that our portable snapshot technology is self-contained and self-describing. Everything you need to restore that snapshot is contained within that image. And by the way, someone says, oh, but you're pushing a lot of data across a link to the public cloud. You're going to drive up my cloud ingress and egress costs. No, so the first snapshot is obviously a full snapshot. After that, it's just incremental and compressed. So we're really leveraging, our IP around space efficiency. We're applying that to these snapshots to not only just minimize the storage costs, but to minimize the link transmission costs as well. And obviously with Pure One, you have a full-based cloud management. You can see where your snaps are across your environment, whether they're stored on your primary flash array, whether they're stored someplace else in your on-prem environment, or whether they're stored in the cloud. By providing both the ability to provide a snap to a local flash store as well as one to the cloud, you get local recovery at the speed of flash. One of the things when I talk to customers about backup and recovery to and from flash, they say, well, isn't flash expensive? Not when you apply dedupe, not when you apply compression, and not when you're using it just for those workloads that you want to be able to recover quickly, and not using it for long-term retention. But the other reason to back up the flash is that only a flash storage device can deliver the performance back to your primary flash array to saturate it. So, you're investing a lot in a high-performance production storage array. You will need to be able to saturate that with data if and when it comes that you need to restore from something very quickly. So when seconds matter, you actually want something that can saturate all that full flash array, taking advantage of it to deliver restore in a highly efficient, timely manner. The other thing that we're providing a preview of today, and check back with us in a little bit, and we'll provide some more details. We acquired some technology in the fall called StoreReduce, and we pre-announced that we're delivering StoreReduce for Amazon Web Services. It's an object storage deduplication engine really designed to help you back up your entire environment. You can back up your pure storage environment, but it works with multiple backup vendor software to deliver really cost-effective retention and data reuse in the cloud. So we work with existing backup software vendors. We present ourselves as an S3 interface. So just like you would use your backup software to talk to an S3 interface to the cloud directly, you can talk to StoreReduce as an intermediary. StoreReduce provides, again, a local store for rapid recovery on-prem, leveraging Pure Storage FlashBlade, and then provides deduplicate replication to Amazon S3, allowing you to cost-effectively store that in an Amazon S3 bucket. And obviously, you can use cloud-based instances of your existing backup software to recover that software in the cloud, that data natively in the cloud if needed. Again, it's object storage technology leveraging an object-first approach. It's cloud-native, built on top of the S3 interface. It is a tremendous dedupe and compression engine, allowing us to significantly reduce costs, by up to 97% for your backups, really enabling cloud storage to become highly cost-effective and effectively replace disk and tape. It also is highly scalable and provides a single namespace. You can run multiple StoreReduce instances as you need to scale performance. It scales linearly. You deploy another StoreReduce instance on-prem, point additional backup targets at that, and it works in parallel. But unlike purpose-built backup appliances, it is a single dedupe namespace across all those instances. So you get the performance of multiple instances, but you also get the benefit of a single namespace providing dedupe across all of that, giving you the best deduplication capabilities possible. And by the way, it was named a Gartner Cool Storage vendor last year in 2018. Just right before we acquired them, so it was like icing on the cake to it. And as I said, we're hard at work rapidly productizing this in a new Pure Storage product that will be out to market sometime early this year. So that's a quick overview of how Pure is helping your unified cloud build a bridge between your on-prem and your cloud-based infrastructure, really helping you deliver a true unified experience rather than a hodgepodge of experiences optimized, some for on-prem, some for in the cloud. Focused on those three key areas that we talked about, helping you build your on-premise cloud, helping you run your applications on-prem, in the cloud, or both simultaneously, and lastly, delivering data protection everywhere, both on-prem, in hosted environments, and in the public cloud. I think that's what I've got. I'm sorry, I wasn't keeping track of the time. How am I doing on time?
Doing good. I think we have time for a few questions. If you're ready, Colin.
Perfect. Go ahead and shoot. Let me grab a quick sip of coffee. Not that I need more of it, but go ahead.
While I do that, let me pop up a poll question for the audience. It says, would you like to be one of the first to learn more about the Pure Storage solutions that you've heard about in today's presentation? I'll just leave that on the screen while we do some Q&A. So let's see. Mark is asking, can I assume that you're hardware agnostic for the on-prem or off-site data center solutions? I'm not sure what that was in reference to.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try and answer the best I can. Again, I'm not sure quite exactly what it is. So we're agnostic in some ways, but not entirely. Our Cloud Snap technology, as I mentioned before, works from a Pure Storage flash array, but it works to a variety of other things. So anything else that can prevent an NFS target, we can use that Snap technology to use as a secondary storage device for snaps. Our store reduce technology as well is independent in terms of software, backup software technologies, but we obviously have a preference for using Pure Storage Flash Blade as the near-term flash storage, and then obviously leveraging Amazon Web Services for the cloud capability. So not a full hardware independent story, but some hardware flexibility within it as we kind of see to really optimize the experience for our customers.
Okay. Another question here. Are the solutions you're talking about here, do they compete with or potentially replace typical backup applications?
Not at all. So we're really focused on providing data movement and data deduplicate compression. We don't do any of the very cool, advanced, and tried and true functions of backup software like catalog management, media management, et cetera. As I said, we integrate with a wide variety of backup vendors, basically anybody who has an S3 interface, which is most of them right now. There are a couple on the market who don't today, but I think they've hinted at providing additional S3 capabilities. So we're really focused on providing a pipe and an efficiency mechanism underneath those. You do not have to change your backup software to take advantage of the store reduce technology, and that's one of the actually selling features of it. You can go in, deploy it relatively instantly, repoint your backup targets at it, but not change any of your processes and procedures.
Okay. And then are there plans to support any other clouds besides AWS?
Pure believes, as I mentioned earlier, that it's a multi-cloud world. We believe most customers will be running multiple different public, hybrid, and even some SaaS provided clouds. So we do recognize the need for having support for other clouds. We went out with these three capabilities, really focused on Amazon Web Services, the market leader. But stay tuned as we continue to evolve our roadmap. You will see us deliver on that capability to deliver solutions for that multi-cloud world. So yes, stay tuned.
Okay, awesome. Well, there's some more technical questions I've got there for you in the queue, but I think that's all the time we have for live Q&A. Thanks for being on the event today, Colin.
No, my pleasure. Thanks.
All right, for more information on Pure Storage and the solutions that they're talking about and presenting today on the event, make sure you check out the handout that's available in your audience console. It's a 451 research paper talking about how businesses are shifting to the unified hybrid cloud. Also visit the Pure Storage website, of course, and they've got a lot more resources on what we learned about today. Before I introduce our next presenter, let me announce our next gift card winner. The next Amazon $500 gift card is going out to Bryant Godfrey from Idaho. Congratulations, Bryant Godfrey. I'll announce that in the chat as well. We got a lot more prizes coming up, so make sure you stay tuned. It's now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Chris Brown, who is a technical marketing manager at Nutanix. Chris, are you with us?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Chris, for being on. Take it away.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me. So I'm with Nutanix, and I've got a whole bunch of slides here because we've gone. You might have heard of us before. We started the whole hyperconverged movement, but I just wanted to, level set and go across, the stack as a journey here. So what does Nutanix see, and what are we, what is it our core thing we're trying to solve? First is that one of the reasons that everyone is looking at the cloud and moving to it is that IT complexity is slowing down business and hurting everything. Infrastructure has too many components. There's too many different pieces moving, and it takes too long for anything to hand off between teams and go. which leads into the process. It's difficult to scale and upgrade, and it's difficult to train the people that are required for all these skills. And one of the reasons that cloud has really exploded is because that means that there's less time for innovation. While the majority of the business value comes from the applications, that's what people care about, we spend so much time managing infrastructure. And we did a survey, and what this ends up resulting is the developers end up circumventing IT. They jump around and use the cloud because it's there, it's available, it's accessible instantly. And this really raises the point that for the first time, enterprise IT has competition. This is something that hasn't really truly happened before, is that at no point in the past could a user just go and swipe a credit card, spend a couple hundred, and get their infrastructure up and running in the cloud. And the experience they get there is better than what they get from going through the proper channels, or going through IT, going through on-prem. You get the ability to rapidly deploy your application. You get the ability to pay as you grow, to only pay for what you use, to continuously get new features. You log in and there's new things every day or every week without you having to do anything, without your applications taking a downtime, without having to schedule, it's the monthly upgrade, so everything's going to have to go down. And you get one-click management. You're able to connect what you want to do to the action instantly, rather than having to go through a 100-step process. So this is what we came to the market with originally. And now that we've expanded and grown into the public cloud a little bit more, we've identified a 3-step journey. Because if we really truly think about it, we all talk about hybrid or multi-cloud or all these other pieces, but if we don't modernize our private infrastructure, we don't actually fix any of those problems. We just avoid them. We jump to the cloud, or we mask it with a tool. So the first thing that we need to do in order to get a truly hybrid environment is modernize our private cloud or our internal infrastructure with hyper-converged infrastructure, being able to deliver any application at any site at any scale. From there, we need to be able to expand and secure and automate our application, consolidating our storage services together and automating applications everywhere. And then finally, we need to be able to unify our operations across public and private clouds. We look at, in order to get to that true multi-cloud or a true hybrid dream, we need to be able to have a single unified workflow. We can't be constantly adding in new tools and constantly be, if I want to do that in AWS, it's this tool. If I want to do that in Azure, it's this tool. If I want to do it in GCP, it's that tool. If I want to do it on-prem, it's these 3 tools. We need to unify the operations across them so that we have a single place to manage everything, single place to use everything. And so the first step to modernizing your infrastructure and modernizing getting that true private, the ability to do the true hybrid, is bringing the cloud goodness inside, using the experience that and the technologies that the cloud providers have brought to bear, and learning from it and benefiting from that in our private clouds by using self-healing, for example, by using web scale engineering, so we have everything distributed, everything can grow at whatever speed. And that everything is software defined. All of the intelligence comes from software, not hardware, because at the end of the day, hardware can't keep up with the changes and the speed of innovation. And so that's what the core HCI does. Our core platform does. It's a fully integrated HCI solution. It gives us one-click management through Prism with a choice of virtualization. You can use AHV, ESXi, Hyper-V, or even Zen Server. It has our storage platform called Acropolis here. And it gives you the choice of platform. It runs on not only our own appliance, which is just rebranded Supermicro, but also Dell, Cisco, HP, Lenovo, and even IBM Power servers, giving you a single unified infrastructure across all of it that gives you all of that one-click management, all of that web scale, all of the goodness from the cloud. Then on top of that, we have layered the management, simplifying things like planning, searching, through being able to find resources based on tags, and saying, hey, rather than having to go find the right resource pool, going to find the right, what the hell, I named it _test _3, just search for it, natively integrated there, with the ability to do operational reporting, and not only all of these pieces, but also optimization of your on-prem resources. Saying, hey, we see that This VM has never used more than 50% of its memory. We can cut that back and save some space. Hey, this VM is under provisioned. You should probably give it some more. Basically, using what you have already in the best way possible, optimizing spend or optimizing infrastructure. I'll just lay them all out here. That gives us the ability to operate our infrastructure on-prem more intelligently, more like a cloud. With the native full-stack management that we bring, by virtue of having our platform run across hypervisors, run across hardware platforms, giving us one single interface that we can do everything with. So that's the difference between Prism Pro and Starter, which I'm not going to jump into here. Finally, that gives us the ability to optimize and operate our on-prem infrastructure well, but it doesn't give us the ability to automate. It doesn't give us the ability to reach into the public cloud. And this is where Nutanix COM comes in. Nutanix COM is a native piece of Prism, and it allows us to automate our applications end-to-end using blueprints. It allows us to publish those blueprints to a marketplace so that users can access resources directly. And it also allows us to stretch into the public cloud, into whatever infrastructure you need to use for this application. COM supports AWS, Azure, GCP, the GovClouds of AWS and Azure. It supports Kubernetes, so you can orchestrate VMs and containers together. It supports RAHV hypervisor as well as ESXi, both on Nutanix and running anywhere, giving you the ability to automate applications no matter where they run, no matter where you want to deploy them from a single place. COM's main goal is to focus on the application, focus on that thing that's delivering the value. It's not and letting the infrastructure fall to the background, because at the end of the day, what matters is the application. If we understand how to deploy your application on-prem, we understand how to deploy it in the cloud, because fundamentally they're not changing. And we want to be able to pull in the native cloud resources, compute instances, and the technologies they have there natively, rather than having to lay down our own fabric and deploying the applications up there. Because by using the cloud's native features, we're able to take full advantage of the capabilities provided there. And we're able to provide self-service across all of these from a single place. So that's the base stack of Nutanix. It's the HCI plus the one-click infrastructure and planning management with Prism, and then multi-cloud and application automation with COM. And we've seen great success with that. Gartner has recognized us as, leading this space and growing. And I pulled out most of the slides because, I didn't want to jump into, not waste, but I didn't want to spend a lot of time talking about all of those. But, we have many customers that have taken advantage of this and seen the benefits for themselves, have seen the simplicity that we bake into our product, and seen how we not only that we don't just mask the problems of the infrastructure, that we fundamentally solve them, giving you that true cloud experience on-prem, and giving you the ability to jump now, and giving you the ability to properly move into the future. Not only just for, cloud native applications or just for VDI, which is where we started, but for any application. We have large customers running Splunk, SQL, SAP on us. We have all storage solutions for block, file, object, and container, whatever combination you're there, all in a single platform that scales simply and easily and is all managed from that one interface. This gives us the freedom to choose our hypervisor on-prem, the freedom to choose our platform, and it also gives us the freedom to start reaching into the cloud. It gives us the freedom to choose our cloud to deploy application to and automate between. But there's more to it with the cloud choice there, is that, I talked a lot about how we've got to modernize the on-prem. That's great and all, that's almost old stuff at this point. That's, everyone's heard that. But where it's getting really interesting is getting that cloud choice right, is stretching into the cloud and giving the ability to control operations across the clouds. So what we need to do is we need to regain the control for these for operations across multi-cloud. I mentioned before that we don't want to have a separate tool for each cloud, a separate tool for each area. In this case, we talk a little bit about distributed cloud, which is, the edge. It's the, oil rigs, or it's terminals, or it's shops, or it's, whatever edges you have. You want to be able to manage those the same way. And as is your private cloud, which is, your hypervisor and stuff you're all familiar with, and your public cloud. We need to unify the operational, we need to unify our data security and compliance policies across clouds. Because just because an application is running in a different cloud than it was before doesn't mean that its security has changed. We need to make sure that that policy is mirrored across all of these environments. We need to make sure that we have full control over the cost between these in clouds. Not only the PRISM piece where I mentioned before, where we talk about, over provisioning, under provisioning, bully, all that fun stuff. But we also need to make sure that we're spending our money most intelligently, getting the most bang for our buck in any cloud that we run. We need to make sure our applications are running healthily, that we're monitoring them properly, no matter where they run. And we also need to be able to deliver applications for our workspaces easily. We need to be able to deliver complex applications no matter where they need to run, whenever they need to run. So we need to bring these all together. And the solution is that we see, because, of course, there are our products, so of course we're going to position those, but, is iCloud services. And iCloud services are very unique because, or not unique, but they're special because they're not tied to the Nutanix platform. You can use iCloud services without having a Nutanix cluster running in your environment. They're all delivered as SaaS services that you can go and start using today if you wanted. So let's dive into that a little bit more. So first, on the data security and compliance policies, how do we make sure that we are meeting our PCI DSS or our HIPAA or whatever security baseline we need across clouds? And how do we make sure that we're spending our money in the most intelligent way? Make sure that we're using reserved instances when it makes sense. Make sure that we're not over provisioning. We're using a 2XL when a 1XL, or even a medium or small, and whatever it is makes the most sense. How do we optimize the spend across these clouds in a single, easy to view way? How do we plan to buy those? How many reserved instances that make sense to buy? How many does it make sense to convert? And that's, and we need to be able to provide that as well from a single place. How do we tie the spend and the cloud usage back to individual groups across clouds without having to create some sort of custom script or report that has to pull in a whole bunch of different places? How do we do that all from a single unified interface and enforce budgets across these teams? And then finally, once again, that security compliance. These are what Xi Beam provides, is the ability to say, hey, monitor all of my applications in the cloud and tell me if this security rule is broken or this security policy is not met. Beam will then monitor everything and then give you alerts on it, telling you how to fix it, either with one click from Beam if you want to do it that way, or with an API call you can run from anywhere to fix that particular hole, giving you a view worldwide of what's running and where your security vulnerabilities are, giving you the ability to see across all of your clouds, across your public and private and different publics, GCP, Azure, all that, what you're spending where, and if there's a better place to run a particular app. If it makes sense, hey, we noticed that you have a ton of reserved instances in AWS. It probably makes sense to grab some of those GCP or Azure VM instances and move them over here. So giving you that, and then tying back into the other Nutanix tools, such as COM and such as our extract tool, which actually moves data between clouds to actually provide that motion for you. Next is how do we monitor our applications across clouds? And Xi Epoch comes in here. It gives us instant observability into our applications, no matter what cloud, no matter what infrastructure, and no matter what language they're using. It gives us the ability to define our own KPIs to monitor applications. Because while a VM-focused or a infrastructure-focused monitor can tell you if CPU is high or if memory is high, maybe for this application, what matters is the number of transactions per second you're doing. And we can monitor that and say, hey, this dropped, there's something wrong here. This also allows us to monitor the application as a whole and understand where the problem is happening on a much more granular level, and allow us to test hypothesis and create custom views for outages or for issues to be able to much more quickly identify where the problem is across clouds, and then focus our troubleshooting there to resolve the issue. Next is we've got Xi Frame, which is digital workspace delivery. Frame allows us to deliver any workspace, no matter how complex the application is, or a full desktop, simply, be it a high GPU requirement or a high processing or just a complex application. It allows us to use any browser of our choice to access it. The entire desktop or entire application is delivered through a simple HTML5 capable browser. You can use it on your phone, your computer, your desktop, wherever you are. You can access it from any device. It allows us to use any cloud and any cloud service. So we can integrate with things like, if you're using Azure AD or Okta or for authentication, or if you're using Dropbox or OneDrive or Google Drive. We integrate with all of those to bring your storage and your authentication in, rather than having to recreate the wheel there. And then it allows us to deploy across any cloud infrastructure, so that you can deliver your applications where it makes sense. If you decide that you want to take advantage of the new GPUs that are in Azure, and your desktops are currently delivered from AWS, a couple of clicks, you can now deploy that to Azure without losing any of the configuration, any of the applications, any of the pieces you've made before. So we're able to do that across clouds and across infrastructures through Xi Frame. Now, Xi Leap is a bit of a unique case here, because this is the only one that does rely on something running on running Nutanix on-prem, and that's because Xi Leap allows us to natively, with a couple of clicks, back up our Nutanix VMs, or VMs running on Nutanix, into the cloud using the Xi infrastructure, the Xi Cloud infrastructure. Because Xi Cloud is based off of the exact same platform, the exact same software as Nutanix on-prem, we can use our native DR capabilities to back up our VMs instantly. It eliminates the need for a dedicated DR site, and with flexible subscriptions, like any service. And it allows you to do one-click failover, one-click failback, and one-click testing, so that you can test instantly and understand immediately that you are DR ready or not. Next is our Xi IRT, which allows us to reach into the edge and deploy applications wherever they're needed. It begins with a edge computing stack for real-time processing using, we have it running on NUX or small. There's a huge variety of things you can run this on. Next, we have sensors come in. These will be, in this case, this icon here showing it can be a VM, little device, whatever. Then we have centralized management from the Xi IRT portal. Allows us to control what applications are deployed where. Maybe you want to do analytics on the edge. Maybe you want to have a camera that you want to process and you want it to send snapshots you want it to send data back when it sees somebody, or you want it to identify the objects it's seeing, or you want it to, whatever it may be. So rather than sending the full data stream, the full video stream back up, you can use IIoT to only send the information that matters, only send the data you care about after going through processing. So from a single place, we can manage what applications are deployed on the edge, what data is sent back, and then control where that data is sent, be it Nutanix, AWS, Azure, or GCP. So that gives us a huge amount of flexibility to process data at the edge and get much more intelligent on the edge there. So that is a very high level, very quick rundown of all the different components of Nutanix and all the different pieces of the Nutanix journey. Modernize your on-prem infrastructure with HCI so that you can take advantage of all the innovations that have happened with the public cloud has shown us, and truly fix the agility, the complexity, and the siloed skill sets on-prem. Build an enterprise cloud by automating and optimizing and securing your applications no matter where they run. And then layering on top of that multi-cloud services for applications and data so that you can consume no matter where you are in your cloud journey, either piecemeal or as a whole, so that you can use what you need and integrate beyond that as desired. So thank you all so much for listening to me ramble on here for 20 minutes. I think we can probably time for some question and answers.
Yeah, great presentation, Chris. We do have some questions here for you. Let's see. First question they're asking is about the Nutanix xCloud. How does it? Can you give us a quick overview of the different services that it offers, and how do you get started with that? I mean, can you just run VMs up there like a typical public cloud?
Yeah. So one of the things with xCloud, it's kind of an umbrella for any of our basically xCloud is the infrastructure we run on, and any Xi service, our services we deliver as a SaaS. So we can't run it. We can't do just IaaS because, to be frank, we don't want to just be another public cloud. We want to add in special services where we can add value. That's why the first thing we're doing is that, or one of the first services we came out with was the Xi Leap, which is the DR in the cloud. We wanted to be able to give that one-click DR that our customers were asking for. For Xi Leap, if you've got Nutanix, you can right from Prism turn it on. For all of the other services, you can actually sign up online and start using them instantly because Xi Beam, Xi Epoch, Xi IoT, and Xi Frame are all SaaS services that can be consumed without Nutanix on-prem and consumed wherever you want. So they're all there. And of course, we're always open to customer feedback, and we want to hear, from what is useful for you guys for the next services. And so that's one of the reasons that we haven't done IaaS yet is because, to be honest, AWS, Azure, and GCP do IaaS incredibly well. We don't want to just be another cloud vendor. We want to take advantage. We want to add in value where we can and take advantage of their expertise where it makes sense.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's important to understand the differentiation. It's not just another public cloud. It has some very specific service offerings that you covered very well. In fact, you got some feedback here. Great presentation. I saw another one that said we're running Nutanix. We've got hundreds of nodes. Works great. So really good feedback on the presentation. Chris, I think that's all the time we have for the live questions. I did put some more technical questions there for you in the queue. You might want to check those out and see if you can respond to some of those.
Yeah, will do. I'll respond to those there. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. For more information on the Nutanix solution, visit, of course, Nutanix.com. Also, check out the handout that's available for download right there in your audience console. It covers the Nutanix Enterprise Cloud and what it is, how it works, and everything you need to know. So make sure you check that out. All right, now it's time for our first iPhone Grand Prize giveaway. That iPhone is going out to Junaid Nonari from Texas. I'll put the names of the prize winners there in the chat here in just a minute. Junaid Nonari from Texas. And the next Amazon $500 gift card is going out to Paul Carter from Maryland. Congratulations, Paul Carter and Junaid. And with that, it's time for our next presenter. I'm excited to introduce Mr. Shay Verma. He is the Director of Product Marketing at Druva. Shay, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Thanks for being on. Take it away.
All right, great. So in the next couple of, say, for about 10, 20 minutes, I want to talk a little bit more about data protection for the cloud era and see how Druva can potentially be a solution for organizations that are looking to protect their information, be it on. A couple of things before we get started, just to set the stage and so that everyone comes up to speed at the same level.
Just a second, folks. Looks like we're having some audio difficulties here. Just a second. Let's see if we can give this a quick kick and get things going. Okay, everyone says it's good now.
Okay, so can I go ahead and continue?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start. Why don't you start this slide over?
Sure. As a result of data being above and beyond the firewall, lots of organizations are now losing visibility and control of it. Lack of information as well, and there's risk to data loss as a result. One of the biggest issues that lots of organizations are also facing is compliance. Not knowing where your data is and how to manage it properly could result in infractions that could at the end of the day, result in big compliance fines. In fact, if you look at what's happening, Google just got fined for about $50 million for infractions to GDPR in just the France region. So non-compliance becomes a big thing for organizations if they don't have full visibility and control of their data. And so that's where Druva really comes in, essentially providing you with a data management offered as a service for all your data, irrespective of where it resides. It could be in cloud data sources, basically something like AWS in the public cloud, or in cloud applications like Office 365 G Suite Box. And then also if the data resides on endpoints, tablets, cell phones, or any physical servers, be it virtual or physical. So what essentially will happen is that Druva helps back up and recover, provide you data protection services on top of all the data that gets unified in the cloud. Once the data has been unified in the cloud, you not only get full visibility and control of that, but now we also provide what kind of data it is, where is it coming from, and provide you with intelligence. Organizations under our belt today, we have over 100 petabytes of data under management in AWS. In fact, if I was to ask or poll some of you guys and see how many partners AWS have, being one of their top 5 partners speaks to our breadth of amount of data that is actually under our management in AWS, and it speaks to our credibility here. So if you see what's happening in the enterprise, I mean, you have some sort of backup software, backup server, or infrastructure for backup server, dedupe appliances, replication, be it asynchronous or off, or asynchronous or synchronous, and then tapes, and then archival off-site. What's happening is a lot of this infrastructure dependence, a lot of organizations are trying to reduce this from a data protection standpoint and are looking to move to cloud. So our competitors are now offering a cloud solution, which is essentially a retrofit of their on-premises software, which the customer has to now maintain in the cloud, which is not a very economic way to manage their data protection solution in the cloud. And this is what we typically refer to as cloud washing. And so to help with this is where Druva comes in. Essentially, it doesn't matter where your workloads are. It could be on-premises with a physical server or in the cloud. We'll help unify that data in the cloud so that it provides full visibility and control of it. The backups and recovery happen on a policy based, and of course, maintaining the backups are also based off of a policy so that you can effectively manage the data stored in the cloud. Essentially, you only pay data for the amount of data stored in the cloud post-global deduplication, and there are never, ever any egress charges in terms of a restore ever done. Once the data has been unified in the cloud, whether it is coming from on-premises or somewhere like VMC, or which is VMware Cloud on AWS, we now provide you full capability of recovering that information to any physical server or any location of your choice, with the ability to also recover in the cloud in the event of a disaster.
So anyway, basically I was talking about how we are a cloud-native solution and how we are able to provide you with the scale and the economics of the cloud as well. Given that we are a cloud-native solution, it's not a software that you have to manage in the cloud and naturally eliminate all the complexities associated with batching and full management yourself. It's as a service, delivered as a service, and so you don't even have to worry about how the management and the plumbing happens in the background. We want to provide it as a service to you, which essentially is like a utility. Turn on the electricity and it keeps coming to you, and at the end of the day, you only pay for the amount of data stored in the cloud. We also have almost no dependency on any external infrastructure that is required, and thereby we help eliminate a lot of the costs associated with that and lower the TCO for you. Which brings me to my next slide, which essentially shows that because of our solution, there's no dependency on infrastructure, because it is global deduplication across all your infrastructure before it is stored in the cloud, and because you only pay for the amount of data stored in the cloud, and as you go on a monthly basis, moving from a CapEx to an OpEx model, we help lots of organizations save up to 60% quite easily in the event of backups, for backups and recovery at any given point. I wanted to cover a quick example of our customer, GameStop. Essentially, they had over 14 locations, and they were looking for and they had a cloud initiative that would help with their backups and recovery as well. And so Druva was able to help reduce their operating costs by 70% where they were able to also use a cloud cache, which is essentially an on-premises software that they can install for free on any commodity hardware, and essentially use that as a local cache for land-like restores for very stringent RTO, RP requirements, and schedule that to the cloud and auto-tier the data to the cloud, where the information gets stored in S3 and then eventually gets auto-tiered into Glacier. And so these cost optimizations are built into the platform for any organization, and because of the reduced dependency on any infrastructure, we were able to reduce their costs while meeting their business continuity SLAs. One of the things that I want to talk about a little bit more now is that once you're in the cloud, lots of organizations, don't realize that they still need to protect their data in the cloud. Being in the cloud, there could be a lot of oops moments. For example, if an IT does del star by mistake, turns off certain instances, or the region goes down, and also if there are outdated plans from a DR perspective, typically they aren't updated once the environment changes. Lots of reasons could throw your whole environment out of sync, and the question is, how do you actually protect against such occurrences that could be unintentional, right? And then there are rising costs as a result if the resources within the cloud are not managed properly. I mean, your servers are humming along in the cloud, even at night when your engineers aren't really utilizing it because they're back home sleeping. And so management of resources within the cloud can be cost prohibitive and could essentially negate one of the reasons why you moved to the cloud to begin with. So management of resources becomes critical in the cloud as well. And then once you're in the cloud, how do you know where all your data is coming from? There's an organization that we partnered with, like Zebra, as a customer, right? And they had multiple business units that was creating a lot of data, and the IT didn't have full visibility and control of the information as well once you're in the cloud. And so Druva acquired Cloud Ranger, and Cloud Ranger is part of our Druva Cloud platform, which helps you in giving a single pane of glass for all the management of your resources and data in the cloud as well. It's also offered as a service and helps you give you full visibility across all your accounts and regions. It helps in protecting all the information as well. And from a DR perspective, it can help clone your VPC environment across a region. So if there's anything that happens in one region, for example, within AWS, you can now clone that environment very easily. Within a few clicks, you're backing up and running in a different region. Then cost server scheduling, you have the ability to turn down the resources that you're not utilizing on a scheduled basis. You can say from 8 to 5, you want your 8 p.m. to 5 a.m., you want your servers down within the cloud. You have the ability to turn them off, and then so you don't incur those costs. And then at the end of the day, you have the ability to search and do granular recoveries and also put any data on hold with our Vault system, so that in the event of any litigation, you have the ability to hold and preserve that data. Of course, we have full report capabilities, audit trails, notifications, and integration with Slack and REST APIs. So Cloud Ranger helps with that. And I was talking a little bit about Zebra earlier. Zebra is one of our big customers on AWS. I mean, as you can see, they have over 115 environments, over 115 offices, with over 35 accounts, with over 500 VPCs, right? Data code was a concern, lack of visibility across all the data being generated across the business units, and of course, they were leveraging manual scripts, and they didn't have a DR solution in place in the event the region or any server went down. And so this is where Druva Cloud Ranger was able to help them. Again, Druva Cloud Ranger is a cloud-native solution, single dashboard to manage all AWS resources. You can eliminate scripts and any manual processes through an automated mechanism that's highly scalable and flexible. And then, of course, because of our VPC cloning, you can now easily protect yourself from any disasters at any given point. And they were able to use the scheduling and eliminate a lot of snapshots per retention policy, thereby reducing their costs by 80%. Now, this is my last slide here, unfortunately, with a lot of the glitches that we had. I'm not sure if the coherent story came across, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter where your enterprise workload is, be it on-premises or in the cloud. With Druva Phoenix and Cloud Ranger, we help protect all your workloads very easily and give you the full capability to recover at any given point. And with that, I would like to hand it over. That's all I have for today, and address any questions that there might be any.
Yeah, great presentation, Shay. Sorry about all the technical difficulties. I'm going to pop up this poll question for the audience. Would you like to be one of the first to learn more about the Druva solution? I'll just leave that up on the screen here while we do some Q&A from the audience. So Stanley's asking, does the backup save in the same region in AWS, Shay?
Yes, you have the ability to configure your locations. You can store it in the same region, or you could store it in a different region. That's completely left up to you. We take care of the plumbing. At the time of a POC, for example, when we are initiating our conversations with you, we can help set that up in the very beginning. We actually take care of that. You just mentioned what regions you want to store it in, and we can take care of all of that. And once the backups are being configured, you can just select down through a drop-down menu which regions you want to put it in, and you can start backing it up through a policy-based, through policies that you can set up.
Okay. And what's Druva's relationship with AWS? Is the customer paying Druva or AWS? How does that work?
Excellent question. So Druva is a partner of AWS, and we take care of all the back end because it is a service, all the back end charges and everything that is associated. Customer only pays Druva. Customer does not pay AWS in this event. And even if there's a restore, there are no egress charges as a result. You only pay for the amount of data stored in the cloud to Druva, and anything else Druva manages with AWS in the background. You don't even have to work with AWS from that perspective.
Okay, very nice. And then what about security? What sort of standards do you employ for protecting the data?
Security was something I wasn't able to touch upon, unfortunately. So we do use TLS 1.2 and AES 256-bit encryption as well, both in-flight and at rest. And then we do something what we call envelope encryption, where we tokenize or we encrypt the key of the user and store it as a token. And at the event of access of data, we provide the token, which gets unencrypted and goes live into session by the user machine's credentials. And essentially, there is no access to any customer data by Druva or by any third party. So in the event, let's say the government comes and says, hey, for XYZ, you're storing the data, can you actually give us their data? We can't actually even provide the data because we don't have access to the keys. We only store the tokens, and the keys go live in session and gets destroyed immediately once the session closes. So only the customer has access to full data, and Druva doesn't have access to that information.
Okay, nice. And what about consistency of the backups? Are they application consistent?
Yes. So any snapshots that we do, they are VSS aware, and so we do provide both crash and application consistency backups as well.
Okay. Morgan just sent in a question. He's asking, how detailed are the reports and how often can they be run?
They can be scheduled, and they are pretty detailed. For every log, for every transaction that happens, there is a report that can be created for backups, resource, DRs, and it's very detailed in terms of what resources are being used, what happened, any errors, and all of that is available on our platform as well. Happy to probably engage in further discussions and show you an example of that report at some point as well.
Okay. Then what about ingress and egress costs? I know we hear a lot about that. How does that work with Druva?
Yeah, so I think I briefly mentioned with Druva, there are no egress charges, and any data going to AWS is free. So essentially, again, the customer only pays for data stored in the cloud and not for any restore charges with Druva at all.
Okay. And since this is a software-only solution, I'm assuming it's pretty easy to get started?
Yes. We also have free trials available on our website. Essentially, we can immediately get started. Yeah, you see, one of the things about the SaaS solution is that, and this is one of the beauty of it, is that if to get started and to try it, you're not waiting for any boxes. You're not waiting for any infrastructure to get started. You know, you can just get started immediately, and you can be up and running within 20 minutes once it's all been set up. And so it's pretty easy and straightforward to get started.
Okay, very nice, very nice. I like that about software only in SaaS solutions. So very cool solution. Thanks so much for being on the event today, Shay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
For more information on Druva, visit druva.com. Sign up for the free trial. Give it a try for yourself. Also, check out the handout that's available for download right there in your audience console. And with that, I'm going to announce our next set of prize winners. So I announced Chuck Corping from Missouri. Congratulations already for the Amazon $500 gift card. And then we have our grand prize number 2, iPhone XS, going to Gabrielle Aronetti from Massachusetts. Congratulations, Gabrielle Aronetti from Massachusetts. And we've got a lot more gift cards and prizes to give away, so make sure you stay tuned for those. All right. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Brad Jervis, Senior Cloud Architect at Offsite Data. Thanks for being on the event today, Brad.
Hey, no problem, David. Thank you so much for having us.
All right. Take it away.
All righty, great. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I know there's been a long webinar. We've gone over a lot of different products, but we think that we have something truly special. And what we're going to talk about today is going to be the Veeam recent update that was actually released yesterday of Update 4 to Veeam 9.5. Now, don't let the Update 4 fool you. This is a huge update in tandem with one of its larger release cycles. So it's, I think even Gustav mentioned that it had more actual bits edited to it than the actual Veeam 9.0 or 9.5 updates. So pretty huge stuff. And we're going to talk a little bit about what the difference is and, you know, what the new cloud tier functionality is that you might have heard of, if at all that you're familiar with Veeam. Great. So our agenda today, we're going to go very briefly. We only have a little bit about time. Is going to be we're going to talk about the Veeam 9.5 Update 4 new feature of cloud tier functionality. We're going to understand a little bit about what that is. We're going to talk about how Offsite Data Sync uses Veeam's cloud tier to offer a solution to our customers. Apologies about this, folks. And we're also going to talk about how Veeam Cloud Connect with Offsite Data Sync uses this cloud tier to offer chilled storage functionality. I'm going to ask you the question of, is cloud tier the best next move? And we're going to briefly talk about Offsite Data Sync and Veeam. So first and foremost, Veeam 9.5 offers this cloud tier functionality. It offers unlimited capacity for data retention with native object storage integration with all the major providers, AWS, S3 compatible storage providers, Azure Blob, and it's also going to add some flexibility. It's going to simplify cloud mobility. We're also going to talk about how cloud tier moves this data to either Offsite Data Sync cloud tier, Azure, Blob Storage, AWS S3, all the different providers that you can use, and how you can use this to expand your local backup repositories into the cloud. Now, sealed backup jobs. This is going to be something critical with the cloud tier. This is basically going to say that only such and such data can go directly to the cloud tier inside of either Offsite Data Sync or S3 or what have you. So basically, if we look here, if you're familiar at all with Veeam and how it works, we can go through and we can see exactly what's going to get saved up to the cloud tier. Now, with forward incrementals, we're only going to be saving the last incrementals versus the new incrementals that might come up. Sincerest apologies about this, folks. I'm not sure why we're moving forward unnecessarily here, so I'm just going to have to keep moving back and forth. Apologies. With the reverse incremental, we're not going to actually be able to save any full backup files that might be at the forward end of our chain up in the cloud tier. So it's only going to be reverse incrementals, incremental data, things of that nature, and we're not actually going to get a full up there. And then with the forward and rollback strategy, we're only going to be able to, again, save those rollbacks. But if you notice, the difference with that is we're actually able to get all of our rollbacks and not only the ones that are, you know, -2 effectively. So if we go back and look at this, we're going to be able to actually save our full backup files and our full backup chains with the forward. Reverse, we're going to only be able to save the reverse incrementals up until the latest 2. With forward and rollbacks, we can save all of our reverse incrementals. So pretty critical stuff to remember when considering the kind of jobs you have. So the cloud tier introduces the ability to boot your restored VMs directly from the object storage. So that means that if you have a large amount of data in that cloud tier and you might have a full up there and you want to boot that VM, you can actually boot that VM so it's going to use that cloud tier storage as its live running storage. Now, this is great, but the one thing that you need to consider is a lot of object storage isn't very quick. So even though you can boot that VM up, it might be a little bit slow, but the great news about that is once it's active, you can actually vMotion that VM back into your environment, and that's going to very much reduce the downtime of that VM. So let's say you have something like a website or something, you want to get it up and running, you don't really need to worry too much about performance. You can boot up into that cloud tier, vMotion it back, and then that performance impact is going to be negligible. All right, great. So offsite data sync cloud tier storage, we're basically going to act as your S3 compatible storage. So that means that you'll be able to connect directly to us. It's going to be automated. It's going to be simple. It's going to scale out, and it's going to be intelligent. So it's going to use all these wonderful features that Veeam is able to offer us to be able to provide that access to the cloud tier. Now, with the latest update 4, basically what we're seeing here is that this is a scale-out backup repository, and this is the only way that you'll be able to add this cloud tier functionality into your environment. So as we can see here, we have our performance tier. Again, apologies about this, folks. We have our performance tier, which is going to be your regular scale-out backup repository extents, along with the same placement policy you would normally have, along with the capacity tier. So here is where we say, okay, here's the extent that I want to use to scale this out with object storage. In this example, we're using ODS's cloud tier. And then we can determine exactly when we're going to move this backups up to that cloud tier storage. So here we have any files that are older than 0 days. So this is basically as soon as that backup becomes sealed, you can move that directly up to the cloud tier. It's the most aggressive form of this. But if you want, you can change this after any number of days that you would want that data to be moved up to the cloud tier. And obviously, we're going to always recommend that you encrypt your data. Great, so the best thing about offsite data sync is you can actually get this information to connect to your environment through the same portal. If any of you are offsite data sync customers who might use our Veeam for Office 365, our Cloud Connect Backup, or our Cloud Connect Replication Suite, this is all in your portal. So even if you want to utilize multiple platforms, you can get your account, you can get your access key along with your secret key. Everything is shared with you right there. So all this stuff that you need to add into Veeam in order to allow this cloud tier functionality is available to you at the tip of your fingers through the offsite data sync portal, just like our other platforms. So something else cool to mention is that we're actually noticeably cheaper than some of the competitors out there. So as you can see here from this wonderful little comparison, we have our ODS cloud tier. There's no egress charges, and everything is $15 a terabyte. Whereas with Azure and AWS, we do have egress charges, and things are closer to $25 a terabyte. Now remember, this varies. There's a lot of different products in AWS S3 and Azure Blob Storage, so this could change, but approximately $25 a terabyte is what our folks came up with when they were researching this. So let's talk a little bit about using Veeam Cloud Connect, because Veeam will readily admit that there is no great way to replace Veeam Cloud Connect, even with the current implementation of this cloud tier functionality. As we saw before, there is a lot of repercussions to using cloud tier, and one of those is that you're not going to be able to move your newest backups offsite immediately. Those backups have to be sealed under those different circumstances. With Veeam Cloud Connect, it allows you to send everything off-site with a backup copy job and then move older files off-site as they age into much cheaper archival storage. And again, that's going to be that off-site data sync chilled storage. So what you can do is for folks who have long-term archival retention needs, let's say you need to keep data for 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, whatever it might be, you can actually set, okay, well, I'm going to need this data readily available inside of Cloud Connect. I'm going to want those restore points available to maybe boot up inside of offsite data sync's infrastructure. But the older data, let's just move that off, and if I need it, then I can get that later. I know it's going to be available to me, but I'm not going to get all those features that Cloud Connect provides. So that's kind of a good midway solution to kind of move over into this cloud tier while still embracing all the features that Cloud Connect Backup has to offer. All right, great. So we're going to talk a little bit about offsite data sync chilled storage via Cloud Connect. Again, we're automated, it's simple, and it's intelligent. It uses the same exact intelligence that the cloud tier uses. The only difference is we're actually using it inside the Cloud Connect repository itself. Again, apologies, folks. So the other great thing is that it's going to allow for additional compliance without having to keep all of those points inside of Cloud Connect storage. You can move it off into chilled storage that's offsite. You know it's going to be working, you know it's going to be available to you, and you're going to meet your compliance, but you're not paying those Cloud Connect prices for all those additional features that maybe you don't need for data that's a year old. Maybe you don't need for data that's 5 years old. Maybe you just need access to that data. And that's what the offsite data sync chilled storage with Veeam Cloud Connect is all about. So again, can one replace the other? So let's talk a little bit about Cloud Connect versus Cloud Tier. One, Cloud Connect is going to allow you to meet that 3-2-1 rule. This is something that Veeam themselves specifically talk about and say, this is something that you need to do to make sure that your data is safe and compliant. If you don't know what the 3-2-1 rule is, definitely check out any Veeam literature. That's more than happy to explain it. Could go into it now, but I know we're running out of time, so it's basically just keeping 3 copies of your data, 2 different platforms, one of them off-site. But there's a ton of material on this that you can look up that offers a little bit more insight. So backup copy jobs allow latest backups to actually get sent up to the cloud. So with Veeam or with Veeam's cloud tier, you can't actually do a backup copy job into the cloud tier. It's only after those backups are sealed that they move up via that scale-out repository. And you can also save money by letting offsite data sync policies move that data to chilled storage for you. So there's no management on your end. You just know that anything that you send up to offsite data sync, whether it's archival or whatnot, you can basically move up automatically, and you know that data is moved, and you know that it's safe, and your billing is going to reflect that. So with Cloud Tier, the pros are that you can move those sealed backup chains. Again, we went over it a little bit about what sealing means. I know we don't have too much time. We can certainly explain it a little bit better for you, and there's also some great Veeam literature on the subject, but you can move that data off-site via the effective scale-out backup repository. Now, this is great for folks who, maybe you don't need to have that data 100% off-site. Maybe you have another solution that's meeting that 3-2-1, but you still want to store that data and expand out that repository, but you don't want to spend all of that money for it. So you can utilize that object storage to effectively expand your repository. Now, the cons, again, only sealed backup chains can be sent. We're not following the 3-2-1 rule, and we're not going to protect your most frequent and recent data for restoration. It's typically only going to be to expand out your existing repository and push a lot of that data off into the cloud tier. Now, offsite data sync services are brought to you by Veeam Technology. We've been a partner with them for, I want to say it's 4 or 5 years now. We're a phenomenal partner with them, and I just would like to say that we actually recently won the Veeam Innovation Award for, I forget the exact one, so you can look it up. We won the Veeam Innovation Award over at the Veeam Insight Conference, so we're really excited about that. That has to do with some of our other products, so please reach out to us and let us know. Veeam in and of themselves are a phenomenal company. We've been working with them, like I said, for a while. We're talking about 3.5x of the NPS versus the industry average. That's huge. We have 17 million workloads protected, 320,000 worldwide customers, and I'm not sure if they've reached $1 billion yet, but I know they've been shooting for it. So they're looking at $1 billion here coming up in revenue. So they've just been huge. I've been personally working with them for over 7 years now, and I've seen it grow from a platform where I said, hey, this is really cool, to, you know what, this is just some really, really, really innovative stuff, and I just can't wait to see what they come out with next, and it's just so exciting being a partner with them as Offsite Data Sync. So let's talk a little bit about offsite data sync. So why would you choose offsite data sync? Well, we're trusted. We're 2 times Veeam Partner of the Year, recognized for outstanding performance. We have experience. We're one of the largest Veeam cloud providers globally, tens of thousands of physical and virtual machines under our protection. We're secure and compliant. We have data centers that would boggle the mind. I've been in many data centers, and the ones that we've recently acquired are just absolutely out of control. We have credentialed professionals. Basically, you name an acronym, our experts have those acronyms associated with them and can speak to a lot of different items, not even just the Veeam world or backup world, but we're talking about Cisco, we're talking about VMware, all these wonderful technologies that I know a lot of you are using. We're forward-thinking, public cloud, Azure AWS integration, hybrid cloud aware, hypervisor agnostic solutions. There's a lot of cool stuff that's coming down in the market, and we encourage our experts to make sure that they're up on the latest trends and that we can speak to these things in a great, professional manner and offer the best advice as far as industry standards. We offer professional services as well for those of you who might need a little bit of expert guidance as far as your backup and DRAS policies. And we also have a global presence serving North America, EMEA, and APAC markets. So with that being said, thank you so much for your time. You can check out the sales inquiries emails right here if you have any questions, comments, concerns. I'd be more than happy to take some of them from David. Otherwise, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure to be part of this webinar.
Yeah, great presentation, Brad. Sorry about the trouble there with the slides, but you did a great job nonetheless. And while we do some Q&A, I'm going to pop up the poll question that's on the screen right now. The question is, would you like to be one of the first to learn more about the Veeam and offsite data sync solution that Brad just presented to you? So I'll leave that on the screen while we do some Q&A. First question, Jason is asking about Linux. Can I back up any Linux, say, virtual machines with the Veeam and offsite data sync solution, Brad?
Absolutely, you can back up Linux virtual machines. It's all at the snapshot level when we're talking about virtual machines, and all of those VMs can be backed up. And at the same time, they can also be restored inside of our infrastructure as a service platform to be able to provide you access to them, even in a disaster.
Okay, very nice. And then what about, I think there might be a little confusion you might want to clear up about the public cloud. Are these backups stored in the offsite data sync cloud, or are there options to store them in other public clouds as well?
Great question, great question. So we have our own S3 compatible storage when we're talking about cloud tier. When we're talking about Veeam Cloud Connect, that's going into our actual live production Veeam Cloud Connect storage. It's a little bit different than the object-based storage. So there's a lot more features with regular Veeam Cloud Connect data, but all of that is going to be stored in offsite data syncs cloud. Now, there are some options to be able to utilize some other public clouds, but we've been able to come up with a solution that offers it at a much cheaper rate with no egress charges. So while some customers may choose to do that, we find a lot of customers are saying, well, you know what, it's just as good, offers the same features, and it's cheaper, so it's kind of a no-brainer.
Makes sense, makes sense. And what about tiers of storage? Are there different tiers that you offer?
With our initial offering of cloud tier, I believe there is only one tier at the moment. Now, that being said, we are looking into this. And remember, this product was literally just released yesterday, so it's something that we're still kind of investigating. But that being said, if you actually go into some of our other options as far as the ability to restore your data off of Cloud Connect and the ability to do DR tests, we have a number of different tiers and options available for customers depending on what their needs are. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our sales team, and we'd be more than happy to connect you with an engineer and make sure that we get the solution that's going to be best fit for you.
Okay. And then another question came in. They're asking, can you spin up VMs in the regular Veeam Cloud Connect?
Yeah, so Veeam Cloud Connect encompasses two products. One is replication. Obviously, with replication, you can spin up VMs. But with backup, yes, you absolutely can. We do offer the ability to spin up those VMs inside of our infrastructure as a service platform if you're VMware, or inside a dedicated host if you're Hyper-V. So this is something we saw a gap in the market. Some folks may only have limited recovery time objectives of maybe 24 hours or something, and they say, well, you know what, I'm backing up my data. What's to stop you folks from just restoring that data for me? And we say, that makes a lot of sense. So we do offer that for our customers, and there are a number of tiers that you can actually get free DR testing, where you can see this work on a yearly level. You get a wonderful little DR drill report at the end of it saying you've completed your disaster recovery test. And effectively, it allows you to take advantage of this without having to spend a premium on DR tests, and it's just kind of all incorporated into the same monthly cost.
Okay, very nice. And you got a couple of great comments here, great presentation, and someone else said they're already planning to implement Veeam. So you got a lot of fans out there. Thanks for being on the event today, Brad.
David, thank you so much for having me, and I hope everything goes great today.
Awesome. For more information on the Veeam and Offsite Data Sync solution, check out the handout that's available for download right there in your audience console. You can also visit the Offsite Data Sync website for more information. All right, now it's time to do another iPhone giveaway. Our next iPhone winner is Mike Sissoyev, Sissoyev, Sissoyev from California. Congratulations to Mike from California. And our next Amazon $500 gift card winner is Jeremy Hogan, Haugen, from Minnesota. Congratulations, Jeremy from Minnesota and Mike from California. We have 2 more iPhones and 3 more gift cards to give away, so make sure you stay tuned. Now it is time to introduce our next presenter on the Cloud MegaCast. That is Mr. James Holden, Senior Product Manager at NetApp. James, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah, so today I'm going to walk everyone through Cloud Insights. So Cloud Insights is one of our newest products in the NetApp portfolio. It came out in October last year, and it really helps people understand what's going on in their infrastructure on-premises and out in the cloud. And today I'm going to walk you through a live demo. I'm actually going to show you the real products running in a lab environments all across the globe, looking after both NetApp gear and cloud instances in AWS, Azure, and GCP. So, as I say that, I will share my screen, and I will show you what this product actually looks like and how you can get your hands on it. So, here it is. This is the start of getting Cloud Insights. Now, we built Cloud Insights with 3 real value propositions in mind. The first one is to really reduce the time people are spending kind of troubleshooting their infrastructure. We have had a very successful product portfolio looking at storage resource management tool sets and looking at collecting data from hypervisors and collecting data from the cloud with a product called On-Command Insight. What we've done is we've leveraged that technology and we've moved fully into the cloud as a SaaS offering called Cloud Insights. And in doing so, we've been able to really reduce the troubleshooting time people spend hunting around for log information, looking around for any kind of correlation between different resources, finding out where there's performance bottlenecks. So we discover everything on the on-premises, all the NetApp portfolio, all the Dell EMC. We'll collect information from Pure Storage, from Nutanix, from wherever in an infrastructure. We feed it up into Cloud Insights and look through that vast amounts of machine-generated data to understand where there are problems. So we can alert really quickly and get people to understand exactly where the issues reside. We also have the ability to put pricing information or cost structures against this data. We can pull in the billing information from the cloud providers. And so what we can also do is help really right-size workloads, optimize their performance, and make sure things are running on the right kind of tier of storage. So there's a few key features behind Cloud Insights. One, it enables you to see your entire topology across your infrastructure, whether it be in the cloud environment or if it's on the on-premises. We also have analytics built from years of experience and our data scientists on our team to help understand how these different resources are correlating against each other, and then alerting at the right time and really reducing the kind of noise in an infrastructure. So those are my only kind of slides I'm going to show, and what I would like to do is jump you straight into the product and show you how it's set up and how it looks in the real world. So this is my kind of starting onboarding position for Cloud Insights. Now, one of the key pieces about it is a SaaS portal. It's run entirely by NetApp, so we're maintaining all the back-end infrastructure. All that's required on the customer's environment is what we're calling an acquisition unit. And that acquisition unit holds our data collectors that are pointing to the cloud, pointing to the on-premises infrastructure, the VMware, the IBM storage, whatever it may be. And they then securely send that data from the acquisition unit all the way up into Cloud Insights. So setting up a data collector is really a simple process. We've got a large variety of different ones in the environment that we can pick from. I can do anything from the cloud infrastructure, the AWS, the Azure, the GCP. I can collect from Pure, I can collect from Nutanix. If I just look at the NetApp, I've got all the different NetApp product sets there. And I'll just show you kind of a few of these to show what we can do in terms of collection. So let's start with a NetApp system. I put my acquisition unit out there. All I need to do is put a very lightweight virtual machine in the infrastructure, and that then is just a 4-core, 16 gig of RAM, 50 gig of disk. I put this command into a bash shell, and it will connect up with that information to have a secure connection into the Cloud Insights SaaS portal. I then just need to put an IP address, username and password, and I've started to collect data from that infrastructure. Now, if I show you a few more of these in a kind of a real-world setup, this is my lab environment across NetApp. I've got tens, if not 41 different data collectors out there, all collecting different bits of information. If I want to set up my AWS, all I need is an access key and secret key and specifying a region. If I want to set up a Pure storage collector, again, all I need is an IP address, username and password, and I've got data coming in. Now, when that data starts flowing in, and it comes in on a periodic basis, either between 1 minute and 5 minutes, I start gathering all the performance stats and all the configuration details of the devices. So I can then start showing dashboards. I have a gallery of dashboards that can be chosen to make the setup really nice and simple. And here's a few that have already kind of been pre-built into the system, but they're all trying to look for the kind of key signals anyone in an administration or an engineering perspective wants to know about their environment. Things like where there's latency. Where is it in my virtual machine infrastructure? Is it in my EC2 instances? Or is it in my back-end storage? Where does that latency arise? Because that's my key kind of indicator of are my users going to start complaining about issues. We look for things like saturation points, or when there's a spike in demand on the infrastructure. So I can look at my CPU utilization, my memory utilization, my swap rates, wherever it may be, to indicate there is an increase of something occurring that's causing a bottleneck, which will eventually cause latency in the system. I look for traffic, and then I've got dashboards here that are built to save money in infrastructure. So let's start off with a dashboard on latency. So this is looking across, I think there's nearly 25 different lab environments across NetApp, all over the globe, all feeding into this instance. I've got all the performance. I can see it for the last 90 days. I can pick a different time period and just show you how quick it is to kind of rebuild all that information. All of these are zoom downs. I can filter into more of the information, but I'm getting that understanding of what's going on across all my different data centers, if it's on the virtual machine infrastructure or if it's out in the storage side of the house. And then each of these then can be drilled further and further into. All the dashboards are really easy to set up. I can reshape any of the widgets. I can add new widgets to the page. And each one's really then, these widgets is designed to kind of quickly get to the visualization of the data that I want to see. So let me just show you an example of a really kind of challenging question to ask of a storage admin. How much capacity have I actually got on the floor across all my different data centers? Here I've got 23, 25 of them, something like that, and all my different arrays. Here in Cloud Insights, that kind of question can be answered in seconds. So now I've got my storage as my object I want to see. I pick my metric of raw capacity, and I just need to select the right units and divide it by the number of right metrics there, and I've got 1.34 petabytes of storage. I can answer that question in seconds and have a nice little widget on my page to show my management. And again, everything's movable, everything's easily resized, just to build a dashboard that is going to make sense to your end organization. And this list of dashboards is an ever-growing list. We can see all the different components out there, whether it be on the on-premises or out in the cloud. So let's look at one of the AWS dashboards and kind of show you some of the kind of key metrics we've got there. So here I've got all the AWS data. I've got all the different CPU utilization, and it's being broken down by all the different business groups within the organization to understand how much of it they're using, where there's starts of bottlenecks or where the cost implications are starting to ramp up. So I can see the marketing departments, how much they've got, how much engineering are using, the legal teams. And this is all data being gathered from AWS. So what I can also do is zoom down into this information and find out some specifics. So let's look for one of the kind of key functions of where there's demand in my storage environment. Here I've got all the different storage nodes listed out. I've got all the latency metrics, the utilization, the traffic in terms of the I/O. And what I can do is I can then pick one of these devices and then look at its underlying performance characteristics. Now, here I've got an expert view that's showing me the latency metrics, the I/O, the utilization. I can look for the throughput, cache it, ratios, all sorts of different things. But the kind of key benefits that Cloud Insight brings to the table is that understanding of an overall topology for the device. So I can see what other components are highly correlated against this device's behavior. So instead of having to look around in different device managers or different screens within the device manager, I have the data at my fingertips to actually bring onto the screen. So here I can look and compare one storage node's behavior against another one. I can look down at the FlexVol level and see its performance and compare it. And these are all recommended correlations that the system is bringing to the table. So I can see that this particular FlexVol is really highly correlated against the load on the actual nodes. It's probably the one that's got the most demand on that infrastructure. And I can see, by clicking on it, what else is related to that particular FlexVol. I can build up the topology, and I can see all the different hypervisors, how they're connected into it, which ones are touching it, to really start understanding where is the load coming from in this environment. So here I can see the latency, I can see the I/O demand, and I can also see what virtual machines are highly correlated against its performance and where they've got latency, and bring all of them into the picture. If I was trying to do that with Device Manager alone, maybe I was looking at VROPs and I was looking at System Manager on the NetApp equipment, I'd have multiple screens open. I'd be trying to correlate manually, maybe with a pen and paper. It would take hours. With Cloud Insights, all the analytics and all that data is right at my fingertips and gets me to the kind of root cause of where did this load come from in the environment. So not only do we give the ability to actually show the metrics and help with that troubleshooting, I can also start setting up performance policies to bring those to the forefront. So if I start creating a policy here, I can pick any of the objects that we've got in the system, everything from a data store, a port in the network, a virtual machine, pick a VM. I can pick any of the annotations that we've got set against it. I'll pick data center. I'll pick any of my different data centers to kind of subdivide this information on. I'll pick the UK sales engineering lab, and then I will pick all the time period I want to specify this over. So if this virtual machine has got a performance issue for a greater than an hour, I'm going to send a critical alert, and I'm going to send it to my email address, james.holden@netapp.com, and I'm going to do it if the latency has exceeded a certain value. I'm going to put it as 25 milliseconds, and if another piece, which is the I/O, is also exceeding a value, because I want to know and really reduce noise from the environment by putting a threshold on the I/O as well. So now that's going to start generating email alerts. It's also going to start potentially sending out tickets to my ticketing system, and it also puts that data into Cloud Insights so it can historically look at what all the kind of alerts are coming from the system. So if I look for violations now, and I bring in a dashboard of those, I can start seeing when my performance kind of alerts have been triggered. So if I drill down into one of these now, I can start looking at a real-life issue in the environment and when it's occurred. So here I've got a virtual machine, and it's started to get high latency. If I look at my topology, I can see how it's connected in. It's got a nice fuzzy connection to a cluster at the back end there. I can see how long that virtual machine was up and running in the environment, and I can see other devices that are both correlated against it and are affecting its performance. So I've got another device out in the infrastructure whose I/O has started impacting the latency of this box. So if I start bringing that into the picture, what I should see is its I/O increase and the other device's latency start decreasing. Now we've got the ability to edit all these pages as well. I can add widgets to anything in the system. I've got all sorts of different widget capabilities, and then I can also tailor them directly to the page I'm on. So if I want to look for virtual machines and link it to this particular object, I can do exactly that. I can break this apart by its storage names. It's all probably going to be on one storage device. Let's do by I/O and save my widget. Again, I've got the ability to add as much and configure and customize any of the toolset as possible. Now, if you want to gain access to Cloud Insights, you want to see it running in your environment, that's also something you can do by going to cloud.netapp.com. We've got a register for trial button on the page, and what that will do is it will ask you to submit a form, and then someone from NetApp will be giving you access to a fully working tenant. By default, it comes with 14 days of usage. It's all the features possible within the to another 14 days if you like what you're seeing. If you did really like what you see and you want to actually go forward and purchase the product, we've got multiple ways of doing that as well. So we can actually do that by contacting NetApp Sales, or actually by subscribing by the AWS Marketplace as well. So, if you do like what you see, please go to register for a trial, and I will pause there and open up for Q&A.
Yeah, really cool presentation. I love the live demo, James. I bet a lot of people didn't know that NetApp has this SaaS-based Insights tool. So it's great to see it in action. One of the questions that came in here first that caught my eye from Morgan, they're asking, can the dashboard get modified for specific data display? So I guess the question is, how customizable is the dashboard?
Yeah, so you can customize the dashboards to a process that you might follow for your troubleshooting. You can customize it for the different devices you want to see. You can customize it maybe per data center, per application stack, by project. You can customize it in any way, shape, or form. The idea behind it is it answers questions of your infrastructure. So however you want to see that data, it will enable you to bring the dashboard forward that will do so. So if you want to see it in line graphs, area charts, box plots, pie charts, tables, it will be able to show you that data set.
Wow, it's very flexible. What about when it comes to the trial? How long do they get for the trial, and how long does it take to get set up?
So if you register for a trial, we've normally got you set up and running and collecting data within a couple of hours. The trial lasts by default for 14 days. Most people like to extend it. We extend out to another 28 days. And then if you want to continue using it, the best way is to contact NetApp, and we can always do something.
Okay. And then what about, can you give some examples of alerts that you might be able to set up?
Yeah, so the very popular one is obviously when is the latency starting to appear in my environment and where is it appearing? So we can do things from where have I got slow response time on my virtual machines, where have I got slow response time on my EC2 instances, but also a lot of people want to kind of be a little bit more proactive and look for things like where's the demand building in the infrastructure. So is there CPU utilization or memory utilization, or have any of my nodes in my storage got any bottlenecks? So they're the kind of key places people like to look for alerting. Okay.
Another question here. Benjamin's asking, does it have an API?
It does have an API. It's a REST API. Everything in the UI is based on that REST API.
Okay, very nice. And then can you kind of summarize what all does it monitor and analyze? I mean, compute, storage, servers, network, and then clouds, or just different pieces of those? I'm trying to figure out that you demoed so much.
Yeah, so we will cover all your EC2 instances, your Azure VMs, your GCP instances, so all your hyperscalers or your cloud providers will cover the performance of all the virtual machine kind of infrastructure out there. And then on your on-premises, it'll cover off all the major hypervisors, VMware, OpenStack, Hyper-V, and then all the major storage devices as well. So everything in the Dell EMC portfolio, everything in the NetApp portfolio, Hitachi, Pure Storage, Nutanix. It'll cover the on-premises infrastructure and the cloud infrastructure.
Okay, very nice. Well, I think that's all the live questions we have. Really great presentation. Thanks so much for being on the event today, James.
No problem. Anytime. Thank you very much for listening.
For more information, visit cloud.netapp.com/cloud-insights. Also click on the handout in your audience console. Will take you to the NetApp website if you want to check that out right now and sign up for the trial. So now it's time to give out our next set of prizes. Actually, our next Amazon $500 gift card is going to Marcus Javati. Marcus Javati from Georgia. Congratulations, Marcus from Georgia. We've got 2 more iPhones and 2 more gift cards to give away, so make sure you stay tuned for those. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Steve Blow. He is a technology evangelist at Zerto. Steve, are you on?
I am. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here. Take it away.
Cool. So, yeah, obviously Steve Blow. I'm one of the technology evangelists at Zerto. Here to talk to you today about IT resilience for your cloud strategy. I really wanted to start by looking at some statistics that Gartner have provided that really hone in, I guess, on what people are looking to do, particularly around cloud and how that strategy, the cloud strategy is something that's becoming increasingly present in most organizations. So by 2021, over 75% of mid-sized and large organizations will have adopted a multi-cloud or a hybrid cloud strategy. And by 2022, public cloud services will be essential for 90% of business innovation. So those are two pretty big metrics, and obviously I'm expecting that a lot of you on the webinar today probably are thinking about cloud if you're not already doing it, and on what you're going to do from that strategy standpoint. And also I expect that probably you've had some challenges in adopting your strategy to get the most out of it and the most efficiency out of it. So today I'm going to be talking a bit about Zerto, how we can help, and what we're doing slightly different to other people in the marketplace. So really the vision is based around that single platform. Zerto is very well known for disaster recovery, but actually we have a lot of use cases beyond that. And our vision is to have a single platform for continuous availability, data protection, and workload mobility to, from, and between multiple clouds. Like I said, that's something that we're really looking to define ourselves around. That's not a modular platform. It's very much a single platform, and you get all of those use cases out of that platform, and obviously, utilize the use cases down to what really suits you and how you're defining your cloud strategy. So we have a look at some of the specific use cases. Obviously, I talked about disaster recovery. Backup is something that we're working on quite heavily right now, and adding that long-term retention piece that's obviously critical in any infrastructure, particularly around compliance. Multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, we've already touched on how important that's going to be. Migration or mobility, that's really essential, and I'll talk a bit more about that as we go through to getting the most out of your strategies. Orchestration and analytics. Now, if you look at that list, you probably can look at that list and say, I have all of that today, or you have elements of that, but you probably don't have all of that with a single product. You probably have multiple tools in there, which ultimately, requires additional resource to manage, higher cost to purchase, etc. What Zerto is delivering with our Zerto IT Resilience platform is a converged story across all of those use cases. And that really, the core behind all of that is our continuous data protection technology. Everything we do, all of our use cases are based around this. One of the key things that this ultimately ties into is what we can then provide out the back end because of that. If you think traditionally, protection is scheduled using snapshots or similar. Obviously, in that scenario, there can be an impact on production, and that impact, therefore, impacts the granularity that you can achieve. In order to deliver continuous data protection, true continuous data protection, we need to ensure that obviously we have no impact on production. And that is, as I said, one of the unique selling points of Zerto. And obviously through the back of that, we deliver our journal capability, which I'll talk a bit more about, our application consistency capability. And as I said, we're working on our long-term retention as well. And that's something that's coming in Zerto 7 in the next couple of months. Up around that, I talked about obviously orchestration as one of the use cases. So we have that wrapped around that continuous protection, data protection, where previously you might have another tool to provide that. With Zerto, it's a single tool with that orchestration and automation built in. And that really enables that multi-cloud workload mobility use cases that I mentioned on the previous slide, and allows you to automate a lot of that process. And then lastly, obviously analytics and control, giving you the visibility of your environment so that you've got a good understanding of what's going on. And as I said, really get the most efficient outcome from your cloud strategies. So if we have a look at the architecture, a lot of you are probably familiar with Zerto's on-premises architecture, where we have integration into the hypervisor, and that's how we scale a single virtual replication appliance per host. However, obviously on the cloud side of the fence, hypervisor access isn't available, and so we needed to come up with a different solution. And Zerto has been supporting AWS and Azure for many years now, as well as obviously having a very large cloud footprint. And when I talk about cloud, I'm talking about cloud service providers. And again, I'll touch on some of the customers we have there. The key thing here is we have what we call Zerto Cloud Appliances in AWS and Azure, and Zerto Cloud Connectors in cloud service providers. If we focus on the Zerto Cloud appliances, they're available in the marketplace, for example, in Microsoft Azure. Simple to deploy, only takes a few minutes. And that's one of the real benefits of Zerto. When you're installing Zerto, it only takes a few minutes. You could be up and replicating at the end of that time. And that simplicity, I guess, is another unique selling point of Zerto. One of the key things that's worth noting when we're replicating into these environments, or when we're replicating into any environment actually, is the VMs that you've chosen to protect, you've chosen to replicate. They don't exist on that target side. So what that means is we're replicating all of the data to the ZCA, which is obviously storing it in blob storage on Azure or S3 storage on AWS. But what we don't have there is compute instances spun up, other than obviously the Zerto Cloud appliance, which means that from a cost-effective or cost efficiency perspective, you are paying just for storage. So it's a very, very cost-effective way of providing disaster recovery to your on-premises environment without having to put tin on the ground somewhere else. So that's a really good use case for Zerto. Obviously, if you're looking to move workloads into the cloud using Zerto as your cloud adoption tool, again, very powerful because you're not paying for any compute usage until you're actually using it, until you need it and that move is performed. The next thing, obviously, I talked about our application groupings. If you think of an application today is not made up of a single VM. Nearly every application is going to be made up of at least 2 VMs or more and have dependencies throughout. The key difference, again, traditionally, if you look at how protection has been provided, you provide it on a per server level, and that server is independently protected to a point in time. But then you'll have another server, so maybe your database server is protected to one point in time, and then a few minutes later, you've got your index server protected, whatever it might be. The point is there, when you then come to recover that application, you're recovering all the various dependencies to different points in time. You're then going to have a challenge to get everything back into sync so the application's actually usable. At Zerto, we've looked at that and we thought, well, how can we do that better? And that's where we've come up with what we call our virtual protection groups, which allows you to effectively group your virtual machines into a single virtual protection group. So, for example, if you've got an Exchange deployment, you would group all of the VMs associated with that Exchange deployment into that single virtual protection group. And what that then allows you to do is when you're recovering all of the VMs in that virtual protection group to the exact same point in time, which means that you then don't have that whole process of fighting to get everything back into sync so it's actually usable again, because you're recovering it into a usable state. The key thing is it doesn't matter what storage you're located on, so you could have VMs using disks on one array and VMs using disks on another array. It doesn't matter to Zerto, you can still group them in the same virtual protection group and we can still provide that consistency across them. And that ties really nicely into the journaling element that we have. So obviously, when we're recovering your VPGs, your virtual protection groups, we recover all of the VMs in there to that single point in time. The key thing, as I said, with Zerto, because we're non-impacting when we're protecting your workloads, there's no impact on production. It means that we can deliver that granularity of just a few seconds. What we're essentially doing is in our journal inserting a checkpoint every 5 seconds. And it can be a little bit longer in the cloud environments, but we're still talking seconds rather than minutes. So every few seconds, and that gives you the ability then to recover to any of those points in time. So just to be clear, these checkpoints are not snapshots. They're Zerto proprietary. We're replicating essentially every single write that occurs on the production side to the target side, storing it in a journal, and then inserting a checkpoint in there. So you can see here we've got multiple checkpoints here, and these give us the ability to recover to any of them. Essentially, as an example, let's say you were infected with ransomware and it encrypted all of your files. With Zerto, you can recover to seconds before the files were encrypted. We've got numerous customer use cases where they've been impacted before they had Zerto and been down and taken days to recover with large amounts of data loss. And then obviously compared that when they have Zerto implemented, and actually they've been down for just a few minutes and had just seconds worth of data loss. And that's where this is really powerful. As I said, if we look at traditional methodologies, snapshots is one of the technologies. Because of the impact on that, you can't have the frequency, which means you often have a window where you're going to lose a fair amount of data. And obviously data is everything in today's market, not to mention obviously brand reputation as well. Everything is reported on instantly with social media, etc. Whereas with Zerto, we're filling in that gap and inserting checkpoints, as I said, every few seconds, and those are points in time that you can recover to. Now that obviously covers you for up to 30 days. We have a journaling capability of up to 30 days, which is great for your vast majority of your recovery scenarios. But actually, you ultimately have a long-term retention capability, which is largely fulfilled by backup today. What Zerto are doing is introducing the concept of an elastic journal, and in essence, giving you the ability to take points in time from that short-term journal, that's those 30 days, and store them for long-term retention. It means you can obviously take those much more frequently. It's all done on the target side, so backup windows are removed, backup overheads are removed, and it means that you've got a single product that can provide your complete recoverability from 30 days ago up to years and years ago. And that really is quite a powerful story. And what we're then adding is obviously what you'd expect, the intelligent index and search capabilities. And as I said, we're bringing a lot of that in Zerto 7, which is due out in April. And then obviously wrapping around it the data protection workflows, so that when you initiate a restore, you go through a single workflow, and ultimately the outcome you're looking to achieve is ultimately the outcome you get at the end of that. Again, simplicity is the core to that. And it doesn't matter where you install Zerto. I mentioned that we have obviously Zerto virtual managers on-premises with virtual replication appliances, and then obviously Zerto cloud appliances in AWS and Azure, for example. Doesn't matter where you deploy it, the user interface looks exactly the same. And that's really, again, one of our focuses, to ensure the product's as simple as possible to utilize. Hopefully that's something that you've seen already as we've been talking about it. And that, as I said, is quite unique in the marketplace. So we have a look at some of the platforms we support. As I said, AWS we support. Key thing here, we're not installing any agents in any of your VMs, and therefore there's no performance impact. It's one experience, one platform, and it really is that powerful. The same on Azure. Again, we can go in and out of both of these platforms. So you can go into Azure, in the event of a disaster. You can then bring everything back out on premises with the same technology. No manual intervention from that standpoint, and that's really powerful to ensure that you've got that recoverability, but also you've got that ability to exit the cloud once you're in. A lot of the tools out there today actually do end up locking you into the platform, and doesn't give you that flexibility to often get the most out of your hybrid cloud strategy. And this, I guess, is a perfect slide to show you what you can achieve with Zerto. As I said, a lot of people are adopting hybrid cloud, multi-cloud strategies. With Zerto, you can actually go in and out of any of these platforms and between any of them as well. And what that means is, you can get the best out of your multi-cloud or hybrid cloud strategy. As I said, we're seeing a lot of organizations adopt these strategies and place their workloads based on their day one requirements, but then have no capability to move those workloads around as those requirements change, which inevitably they do. And in order to get the most efficiency out of these strategies and ensure you're not locked in anywhere, having that ability to move those workloads around while simultaneously protecting them is really essential. And that's what I'm talking about today, really, with that IT resilience for your cloud strategy. Zerto is a real enabler for ensuring that you can get the most out of that strategy. So I talked about analytics. Zerto has a SaaS-based analytics platform. No extra cost for this. It's going to give you a lot of visibility on things like your RPOs across your sites. so your recovery point objectives, for those of you that don't know what that is. It's also going to give you details like your network bandwidth utilization, again, across all sites, your storage utilization, your Zerto journal storage utilization. And this is really going to give you an insight into what's going on across your platform beyond just Zerto. And we're looking to do some pretty cool things in here as well, with some intelligence and future sizing and predictions as well. So stay tuned for some of those changes coming. I heard on the NetUp session earlier, one of the questions was there a REST API? So the same goes for Zerto. All of our features that we're bringing today are built around the API behind them. So this helps you integrate it with various external operations tools that you might have, any DevOps tools from that standpoint. If you've got external monitoring systems, again, you've got the ability to utilize the API not just against your in-house Zerto infrastructure, also against that analytics platform as well, which gives you a great deal of visibility potentially outside of maybe your environment where you have some more limitations on how applications can access that data. So as I said, key thing is Azure, AWS, IBM Cloud is supported as well. And we also have a large footprint in Zerto cloud service providers. So we have about 450 of those globally today. I talked a bit about some of our customers and what they've delivered in the past and what they've seen from before having Zerto to after having Zerto. And I've just got a customer use case here that I wanted to talk to you around. So this is McKesson. Most of you probably have heard of McKesson. But they had an inability to recover 50% of their tier 1 apps due to various complexities, challenges, and ultimately high cost of recovery and migration because they have multi-point solutions. They had various tools delivering different outcomes depending on the criticality of the application, etc. And what it meant is they were unable to execute or adopt a multi-cloud strategy because ultimately they had the legacy DR and backup tools that they had in place. They didn't provide that capability. And so introducing Zerto, it obviously reduced the IT costs significantly. As I said, you then get a converged platform. All of that resource that's traditionally pushed towards managing and keeping the lights on with these various tools can be reduced significantly, and your IT teams can actually be focused on innovating and ways to generate additional revenue for your business rather than ultimately, as I said, keeping the lights on. So as I said, it was about 300 systems in 1 year they had protected, and 50% of their tier 1 apps were not recoverable with the tools they were utilizing. Actually, they said some of their testing they often didn't do because of that. The challenges meant that it was a failure or so forth. As I said, that was one of the reasons that Zerto was talking to them. And obviously with Zerto, they achieved continuous data replication to Azure and IBM Cloud. So, that hybrid cloud, multi-cloud strategy. And they protected 750 systems in 1 month. When you compare that to the 300 systems they managed to protect in a year, that's a fairly significant difference and hopefully emphasize the simplicity of Zerto. And ultimately, the end outcome was all tier 1 apps protected and recoverable. We got a great statement here from Stephen Weber, who said, with Zerto, it's as easy as point, click, protect. Again, highlighting our simplicity. So if we have a look at the DRaaS space, DR as a service space, so this is the Gartner Magic Quadrant for DR as a service. There's 10 providers on here. Of those 10, 9 of them utilize Zerto to provide that capability, including the leader Island. If we look at the Forrester Wave, again, 10 providers on here. But as you can see, all 10 provided by Zerto. So I mentioned earlier, we've got a vast array of customers already to give you an idea of our scale. So 7,000 customers globally across 70 countries. We've actually got 450 cloud providers today and 1,100 partners. And we've obviously got very close alliances with the likes of Azure, IBM, AWS, VMware, HPE, and SunGuard. So that's really all I wanted to get across today. I wanted to touch on our annual conference. It's in Nashville this year in May, and we've actually got an exclusive discount for this webinar. So if you use the code ZCloud20 when you're registering, you actually get an additional 20% off what you already get at this point in time, which I believe is 40%. So you can get an additional 60% off. And lastly, I just wanted to say as well that if you reach out to my colleague Nicholas Repko, so his email address is nicholas.repko@zerto.com, to set up a demo, something we can easily do, show you just how easy it is. The first 10 people to complete a demo will receive a $25 Amazon gift card. So that's all from me.
Great demo, or great presentation, Steve. Zerto is a really cool product. I would like to go to ZertoCon one year. I haven't been yet, but it sounds like a really cool conference. So hopefully I can make it out this year. And the 20% discount there is also very nice. As is
you should definitely come.
As is the option to get a $25 Amazon gift card for a demo. So let's see here. We have a few questions for you if you're ready.
Yep.
All right. While we do these questions, I'm going to pop up this poll question for the audience. It says, would you like to be one of the first to learn more about the Zerto solution? I'll just leave that up for everyone out there to answer while we do our Q&A. First question, Benjamin is asking, how's the licensing work with Zerto?
Yeah, great question. So it's nice and simple, as you'd expect. So it's per protected VM. We don't care on size. You can actually replicate that VM to more than one location as well. So we support one-to-many replication. But yeah, just per protected VM.
Okay. And what about, Benjamin's also asking, with Zerto, can a VM hosted on AWS be replicated and powered on in Azure and vice versa, like for disaster recovery?
So yes, it's easier from Azure to AWS because of the various capabilities between the two platforms. So AWS to Azure is something that's on our roadmap that should be coming soon. But today we can do Azure into AWS. Yes.
Okay. And then what about agents? Does Zerto use agents or not?
There are no agents with Zerto, no. So in a hypervisor on-premises environment, we just deploy what we call virtual replication appliances. It's one per hypervisor host, and that's how we scale. But that VRA will manage all VMs running across that host, essentially. So nothing is installed in the VMs themselves, and that's ultimately why we can deliver no production impact.
Okay, cool. And then David is asking, are vVols supported, or can virtual machines that are on vVols be protected?
Today, vVols aren't supported. Again, they're on our roadmap. We're looking at a few things around that, so watch your space. There's every possibility they could be supported by the middle of this year.
Okay. And then what about, let's see here, can you review which on-premises hypervisors you support today?
Yep, so we support VMware. Obviously, I think I talked about them earlier. So we support VMware, and we also support Hyper-V from an on-premises hypervisor standpoint today.
Okay. And then what about the network bandwidth to replicate these virtual machines with, changing data inside the virtual disk?
Yeah, no, another good question. So really it depends on the rate of data change on the source environment. And we have various tools that can help you identify that. So obviously, if you're already Zerto customer, all of that information is available in Zerto Analytics. If you're not, we have a tool which can effectively scope that out for you and size your environment appropriately. And our solution engineers are fully versed in, obviously, assisting you with that sizing process. Typically, as a minimum, we say 5 megabits per second.
Very nice. And then what about, with cloud, the great thing is you can, if you don't like your cloud, you can just move to another cloud. But that's not always easy if you have a lot of data, in one cloud. Can Zerto help, or have you seen it where Zerto has helped companies move from one platform to another?
Yeah, and actually, something we see quite frequently when we're talking, particularly at C-level, and actually the CFOs often have this point, is when they're adopting a cloud strategy, one of the first questions they ask is what's our exit plan? And often there isn't an easy answer for that. So yeah, Zerto's helped that question multiple times with many of our customers. You saw me talk about McKesson there, and that they actually adopted Azure and IBM Cloud, and they have the capability to replicate between those two environments and move workloads around, depending on ultimately where they're going to see the most efficiency from a cost standpoint and also from a compute and performance standpoint.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. Well, I think that's all the questions we have, but really great presentation. Thanks so much for being on the event today, Steve.
Thanks very much for having me. Cheers all.
For more information on Zerto, visit Zerto.com. Also check out the handout that's available for download right there in your audience console. I will post the email address to sign up for a demo as well in the chat box if you want to check that out. Someone had asked about that. So make sure that you do that as well. All right, thank you for answering that poll question. It's now time to give out another iPhone and another Amazon gift card. Our next iPhone is going out to Jeffrey Benbrick from Virginia. Congratulations, Jeffrey from Virginia. And Noah Mateen from Illinois is the winner of the Amazon $500 gift card. So Noah from Illinois, Jeffrey from Virginia. And for those who didn't win, stay tuned. We've got another gift card and another iPhone after our next presentation. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Stacy Budd, who is a principal consultant in pre-sales at ArcServe. Stacy, are you on?
I am. Good afternoon, everybody.
Thanks for being here, Stacy. Take it away.
All right. I want to thank everybody for their time today. I know everybody's, if you're like me, very busy, and taking time out. We recognize at ArcServe that, you're doing us a favor by joining these webcasts. My role at ArcServe is, as we can see on the screen, I'm a principal consultant. What that means is that I'm the tech guy, right? I present product. I do product demos. I help do proof of concepts, So I'm the guy that really says from a technical perspective, our product's going to do what, all the sales and the marketing people say it will do, right? So that's kind of when I present today, I'm going to take it from from that approach, try to spend quite a bit of time actually looking at the product and all that on top of that. If you're not familiar with ArcServe, definitely ArcServe's been around for a while. I want to make sure a slide advance there. Okay, so ArcServe's been around for quite a while, right? We believe we're the most experienced provider of data protection solutions, and that helps businesses protect what's priceless. What do we mean by that? Well, ArcServe's been around, it was founded in '83, okay? They delivered the first backup solution in 1988, okay? And that's what we believe makes us the world's most experienced data protection solution provider, right? All this time helping businesses protect their priceless digital assets, right? Our primary focus always and continues to be to deliver complete business continuity to mid-size and enterprise business across the globe, right? When we look at, specifically, and I'm going to just take a moment to, because this is a cloud presentation that we're doing today. We're all here to talk about the cloud. I want to take a moment and just kind of talk about, what we do specifically for the cloud. Okay, so when we look at protecting data, we have all different ways that we do that. We have our unified data protection software, right, which you can deploy in our own cloud. You can deploy in Amazon or Azure. You can deploy on-premise and replicate up there. You're able to do that. You're able to protect environments in cloud environments or physical environments and then send it to cloud if you want to do that as well. We have a cloud UI as far as that goes. And storage, again, the storage can go to an ArcServe Cloud, Amazon, Azure, and we take advantage of things like deduplication, as source-side global deduplication, and all of that as well. We also offer appliances, so if people don't want to roll out their own software, we offer unified data protection appliances where you just put an appliance in your environment, and then you can send the data. First, you're going to back it up locally, and then be able to protect, that local data, maybe Office 365 even data there, and pull it down locally, and then send it to cloud, either ArcServe or, again, public cloud, private cloud. All of that is going to be available there as well. We're not limited to an on-premise solution. We do have a Cloud Direct solution. That Cloud Direct solution allows us to not have a local install of anything, so it's an agentless protection. And then we can back up directly to our own ArcServe Cloud. We could also protect data that's in Amazon or Azure. We can protect physical systems, virtual systems. All of that is there. We also have on the UDP side of things, Unified Data Protection side of things, our own cloud that we offer too. So you're able to go to an ArcServe Cloud. And then again, all the capabilities that are within the UDP software appliances, that is capable within that cloud, what we call cloud hybrid, right? An on-prem backup solution that then replicates up to the ArcServe Cloud. Okay. We also have the ability to do email archiving, right, to be able to protect emails and be able to protect data that's, email data that's in, on-premise or in the cloud, and send that to our own, cloud, or deploy that server in Amazon or Azure, and be able to do that as well. Okay. Our RHA product, Replication High Availability, that gives you the ability to do continuous data protection of systems. And the end result, we could protect just applications, we could protect entire systems continuously, and we would be able to take and send that data again. It's a common theme here, right? We can send it up to Amazon, to Azure. The source data could be in the cloud. We could do cloud to cloud as far as that goes. So we do have the capabilities to do that as well. And even if you go all the way back to our, our original, ArcServe backup product, file-based backup, we have the ability to take that data that we've backed up with that. We still have that product available. It still fits in certain environments out there, so we still absolutely have the ability to do that. And we can send that data up to cloud as well, like S3 or something like that as well. So, across our portfolio, we definitely have embraced, the cloud out there. A lot of times when people think about, solutions, they're looking at who's the newest vendors out there, because they're going to have, the capability to do, to go with the latest technologies. And I'd like to put it out there, we've been doing this a very long time, and we have the ability to support those latest technologies as well. So keep ArcServe in mind. We're not here to talk about all those solutions, though. We're here to talk about our business continuity cloud and what capabilities we bring to the table with that solution. So without further ado, let's go ahead and speak to that moment. I only have a few slides I'm going to go through here. Again, I want to spend most of the time actually looking at the solution. But what we recognize is, businesses need, a comprehensive data protection solution. One that would deliver complete and comprehensive data protection for the entire complex and multi-generational IT. What do we mean by that? Multi-generational, right? x86, non-x86, SaaS, infrastructure as a service, even mainframe out there as well, right? That's multi-generational to us, right? They need a common protection with a unified and streaming interface, right? So you need to be able to do that quickly and easily. You need one solution to protect every platform, okay? From x86 servers, Exchange, SQL, Linux, and to those other that I mentioned as well. You need to protect non-x86, include legacy like HP, UX, AIX, things like that, Unix too. And you need to be able to protect the data that's in the cloud, right? And every cloud, right? Just because the data is in the cloud doesn't mean it doesn't need to be protected. Okay, a lot of times, you still need to be able to protect that data, be able to either back it up and have it available, right, for long-term retention, or in some cases even failover and those kind of things as well. Business requirements are so variable that the solution should support any to any, right, multi-cloud, cross-cloud protection. And for many reasons, including compliances, businesses need backup, disaster recovery, high availability, email archiving, so we do absolutely see the need for that. When we look at the ArcServe business cloud capabilities, right, it's powered and proven a robust products and technologies delivered by ArcServe, for more than 30 years, right, delivered, right. It gives us and businesses the answer to completely integrated, comprehensive data protection for multi-generational IT, right? A unified experience of the cloud-based web console, complete integration, every form of protection, including backup, disaster recovery, high availability, and email archiving. Being able to protect every cloud and premises, right? Multi-cloud, cross-cloud data protection, we definitely see a need for that as well. Being able to protect different RTOs, RPOs, and SLAs, provide near zero RTOs and RPOs with high availability. We can go down to, we have a virtual standby capability, which restores from a backup, right? So being able to go for a few minutes, all the way down to bare metal restore, which is going to take, usually hours to do a bare metal restore in a system, but being able to do that as well. So depending on what the needs are, being able to scale the right product into that. Right? Plus, on top of all of this, the ability to do granular restores for emails, for files, for all different types of data, right? And being able to protect that. As part of the ArcServe Business Continuity Cloud, we are launching our new cloud-based web console. And included with our cloud backup and disaster recovery services, it allows you to protect on-premise and remote locations, your cloud data and workloads, and more. Protects Windows servers, PCs, Linux, cloud data sources, seamlessly integrates with existing ArcServe UDP installations on-premise. So if you happen to be using UDP currently on-premise, it'll integrate with that as well. It helps you stay informed with advanced reports and monitoring and capabilities, providing automatic and on-demand insights into the entire data protection strategy, including backup statuses, storage capacities and trends, errors, and more, things like that you expect to see. And as anything ArcServe delivers, we continue evolving this interface, adding features, capabilities, and services. Best part is it's free, no additional cost for this console. Right? It's just part of our product that we offer out there. ArcServe Cloud is powered by a network of very reliable data centers located across the globe. Okay? We offer AES encryption in flight and at rest, or in motion and at rest. We have role-based access and control, self-healing data corruption protection. That's all from a data security standpoint. From a resiliency standpoint, right? 5 nines of data center uptime, server and node redundancy, multiple 10 gig links, uplinks coming into our data center. And I should say it is managed and operated by ArcServe, right? Which is one of the most important things is, if you pick up the phone and you call ArcServe, we're not going to transfer you over to talk to somebody else because, okay, now this is something to do with the cloud. You're still going to be speaking with ArcServe across this. Our data centers are in, East Coast, West Coast, and we have one in Manchester, UK. okay? And everything you expect to see from a physical security standpoint, okay? And lastly, from a compliancy standpoint, we meet, most compliancies out there. It's rare that I run into one that we don't meet. And if we do, we tend to see what we can do to hurry up and get that compliancy. Sometimes these things take a little bit of time to go through the procedures. But like, for instance, we were SSAE 16 SOC Type 1, and we pretty quickly got the Type 2 certification out there as well. Okay. Of course, we meet GDPR, PCI, HIPAA, SOX, PCI, all those things that you'd expect to see with the cloud vendor, right? With a backup and DR solution. I'm going to go through now, and I'm going to share out my screen, and we're going to take a look at the console itself, and then we'll come back and I'll do a summary, a couple slides. But I hope that when we take a look at this, everybody will get a good feel for what we offer with our cloud-based console, our business continuity console. The business continuity console, I've already logged into it. Of course, it's browser-based, so you're going to log in to Chrome, IE, Firefox, one of those. I've used a tablet, and in a pinch, I've actually used my phone, right, to be able to do this. Now, my phone's not the biggest phone out there, but I was able to manage through it and do this. I was actually at a trade show, and I was showing somebody how I could log in and manage this different stuff. It is also, I'm showing you the single tenant view, but it's also available for a multi-tenant view, right, where you could then go in and manage your individual tenants, what they would see, and then you have a list of all your tenants there. But we're going to take a look at the single tenant view. When you first log in, and what we're looking at today is, our data for our Cloud Direct, and then also for our Cloud Hybrid environment. And this goes into a demo environment, so we're going to have some failures here because we turn off systems and do all of that as well. But the monitor is going to show us, a backup summary, what's going on as far as that goes, our top sources, our top policies that we're protecting, our data transfer summary for Cloud Direct, also usage for Cloud Hybrid, okay, as far as that goes. And remember, Cloud Direct is that solution that there is no on-prem requirement, whereas Cloud Hybrid, there's a local that then replicates up to the ArcServe cloud. The advantage to this is we can, to having that local to replicate up, is we can take advantage of source-side global deduplication, whereas the Cloud Direct is not taking advantage of deduplication. So they both have their places where they would fit in, plus you could do some on-prem DR capabilities before you roll over to the cloud with the Cloud Hybrid solution. So we're going to navigate on the left-hand side here. We're going to take a look at protecting our systems. What systems do we want to protect? Machines versus agentless protection. Our different volumes that we have, our destinations that we want to back to, our Cloud Direct volumes versus our Cloud Hybrid volumes, and our policies where we can create our different backup policies that we would then assign to different systems. And these we could go in, and it's fairly straightforward. We can go in and we're going to choose the cloud protection type first. Where do I want to protect to? And also from a disaster recovery standpoint, Cloud Direct gives you the ability to protect down to every 15 minutes. And really both solutions do, right? So they both give you the ability to protect as frequently as 15 minutes based on your data change and your bandwidth and those kind of things as well. So we're going to choose the source. We're going to go through then and choose our destination. What do we want to protect? Where do we want to protect to? How frequently do we want to protect these, right? And then additional settings that we can go through as well within this, right? So I'm kind of going through this quick. If kind of, this piques your interest, I recommend you reach out to us, let us know, and we can show you a more in-depth demo of all these plans and all of this too, if you have that if you have that interest that you want to see that. We're going to go ahead and discard our changes there. I don't want to actually change any policies today. We're also going to give you the ability to go through and analyze your data, run reports, look at reports that we have out there, backup jobs, specifically data transfer, capacity usage, and then all of these can be scheduled, to who do we send these reports to, how frequently are they ran, do I need to come in here, and we can run these reports on demand as well and give you that capability. Do I want to see reports on specific systems, or do I want to go through and see a report on all my different systems that I have there as well. And we're going to see everything that you'd expect to see, from backup to recovery, all of those going to be there. Disaster recovery, capability of failover, all that's going to be there as well. Lastly, from a configuration standpoint, right, we do give you the ability to do a network configuration. So if you're doing disaster recovery as a service, we would give you the ability to go in, set up ahead of time those VPN, port forwarding roles, all of that. You'd work with our team to make sure that when you do need to fail over a system, it should be the root time to fail over to that system that's available in the cloud, and then be able to access it. You already should have this set up by working with our team in California as far as that goes. I did mention too that this is available as a multi-tenant product. We have the ability to do branding and set up and use your own logos, your own color schemes. So if you're an MSP out there, you can brand this to look like your company and do that too. Access control gives us the ability to go in and create different roles, give different users different abilities. Maybe we just want them to be able to do a restore as opposed to be able to administer everything. If you're an MSP and you give your end user access to this, then they're going to be able to go in and manage just their side, right? Not the whole MSP console, but just their side. You're able to then select your different customers and go in and manage those differently from that perspective. And I do think, that I kind of went through the demo a little bit quicker than I planned, but again, if you want a more in-depth demo, I do urge you, not only of this product, but any of the ArcServe products that I talked about in the beginning, please reach out to us and we can definitely set up a one-on-one demo for you to show you any of those products, from the email archiving to our high availability solution to any of our backup and DR solution from that perspective. Right. All right, so with the new solution, ArcServe addresses business challenges of protecting multi-generational IT, with ArcServe solution. It eliminates data loss by protecting data everywhere and ensuring ability to recover. Okay, which I didn't show you recovering, and definitely I should have there. But it's a click away as far as that goes, being able to browse down into those systems, restore, whether it's at the entire system, and being able to do that. Definitely if you perform DR, being able to replicate those changes back down on site, as you need to. You're not limited to restoring everything. You can restore files and folders and all of that as well. We do reduce downtime, right, of any systems to minutes and seconds, right? We validate the ability to recover data with automated testing, okay? Your RTOs, RPOs, and SLAs with reports for stakeholders. So being able to have all that available to provide to your stakeholders of your data. Most importantly, we simplify data protection, okay? With single solution from a single, most experienced data protection vendor in the world. I don't think that we have a problem saying that as far as that goes. No headaches, predictable SLAs, and costs and IT management times. Those are cut up to 50% to our customers, right? We ran a survey, right? When we conducted this survey, the majority of our customers did share that they cut their time spent managing their data protection by 50% after switching to ArcServe. Okay, so that's money back in your pocket, or time back in your pocket, if you will. Okay. Now, to summarize, right, ArcServe Business Continuity Cloud, powered by the console you've just seen, right, protects your entire IT, all three IT platforms, right, with unified experience and robust technologies delivered by a single, most experienced data protection vendor. Your business is safe, whatever stage of cloud transformation journey you're at. Okay, so that kind of wraps it up for me. I would love to take some questions. So, fire away. I'll go ahead and I think I forgot to advance some slides there, but
no worries. Great demo. Really love seeing the live demos. Thank you, Stacy. We do have some questions here for you. Before I ask those questions, I want to call to the audience's attention. In the slide window there, it says, would you like to be one of the first to learn more about the ArcServe solution? I would appreciate you answering that poll. And let's see, first question here, Morgan is asking, can I get more information related to the cost? How's the licensing work with ArcServe, Stacy?
Sure, so fantastic. Obviously, we've got different solutions out there, so depending on the solution, we're generally going to license per amount of data. And that's one of the great things, like if you go to the ArcServe Cloud, it is the deduplicated data that's residing there. And then if you need high availability, the ability to disaster recovery, the ability to spin up systems, then there's some compute cost in there as well, with the ability to spin up and test throughout the year, and not limited to that, right? Generally on-premise, we're going to license, either the amount of systems that you have, the sockets that you have, I should say, or the amount of data. Office 365, if you could go to our Cloud Direct, you don't need to bring it back on-premise. You could go to our cloud, or you could go to Azure or something, or AWS with that. There's different kind of cost structures for that. But if you go to the ArcServe Cloud, it's really back down to how much space are you going to take up. And that data would be deduplicated, right, with still ability to restore individual mailboxes, individual emails out of those mailboxes, and all of that as well. So, great question.
All right. Another question, is there a trial period to try it out, and can it be run on AWS or Azure, or is it just primarily an on-premises solution that talks to AWS and Azure?
Sure. So, funny, I just actually got off the line before this with a customer that is trialing our product in AWS. Okay, so we do have, again, different solutions. The unified data protection, it's an on-premise first solution, right? So, and we do have a 30-day trial for that product. But like this customer here, he is actually testing not only the on-premise side, but also the AWS side. So we can help you during that testing to what kind of requirements do you need to deploy a server in AWS. And you would have your compute or whatever that you would work with Amazon for that. But from our side, it's a 30-day trial. There's no cost for that. The Cloud Direct solution, there's a 15-day trial or 14-day trial, 2 weeks. Seems like 15 days sometimes, though. But it is there's no on-premise for that at all. It's direct to the ArcServe Cloud, and there's no cost to try that. And on all our trials, you can extend those trial periods out just by contacting sales, and some products have it right within the product to extend. Because if you're like most people out there, you get busy, you download a product to trial, and and sometimes you get on other projects and things like that. We understand that. We make it easy for you to extend those trials out as well.
Okay, nice. And then another question here: how do I know how much bandwidth is required to back up to the ArcServe Cloud?
Right, so that's a great question. All of our products, do have some type of WAN, acceleration in there, multi-streaming, and those kind of capabilities in there. The ArcServe UDP product, on top of that, can do source-side global deduplication. So that's going to reduce the amount of data that goes across your network. We in a lot of cases, we do, depending, we'll work with you on the amount of data, your retention policy, your change rate, and all that and get some information from that perspective. We also have some tools out there to help from a deduplication perspective to kind of understand what deduplication ratios you're going to get in your environment specifically. And then it comes down to change rate, right? So somebody on my team would work with you to better understand that and what that's going to be. Every customer is a little bit different. So we can help you work through that and understand where you're going to be. Doesn't mean, you know, if you have low bandwidth, doesn't mean you can't protect your data. It just means maybe I need to look at, you know, what my RTOs and RPOs are going to be, and then what product I deploy. Because once I, you know, if I go with like a ArcServe Unified Data Protection, once you have that seeding of the full data and you're sending unique blocks of data only, that can definitely impact, and you won't need as much bandwidth for something like that. Sometimes that's the, make sure we're looking at the right product for your need as well.
Yeah. Well, excellent. Well, I think that's all the questions we have right now, but really great presentation, really great to see the live demo. Thank you so much for being on the event today, Stacy.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, everybody. I do appreciate it.
For more information on ArcServe, of course, visit arcserve.com. Sign up for the free trial. Also check out the handout that's available for download right there in your audience console. And with that, it's time for our final prize giveaway of the day. We have an Amazon $500 gift card going out to Shay John from Pennsylvania, and our final iPhone XS going to Randy Williams of North Carolina. Congratulations, Shay and Randy. You're the final winners, but if you didn't win today, no worries. We've got a lot of events coming up. Visit events.actualtechmedia.com because we have big shared events like this with many different prizes just about every week. All right, before I go, I want to remind you to check out the 10 on Tech podcast over in the iTunes store where you can stay up to date on the latest on enterprise technology. Also visit events.actualtechmedia.com to sign up for our upcoming MegaCast and EcoCast events. And if you are a potential sponsor of a MegaCast event, just email sales@actualtechmedia.com if you'd like to present on one of our events. And make sure you visit us, join us on our next event, January 30th. That is a week from today, Securing the Organization. If you're interested in security in enterprise IT, make sure you check out that event over at events.actualtechmedia.com. It's been a lot of fun today. We got a lot of great feedback from folks who said they learned a lot and really enjoyed the event. I love to get that kind of feedback. Thank you so much for joining the event. Have a great day.